The pool opened at 5:30, and I was always the first person there. The water had a calm feeling before anyone disturbed it, a quietness that felt almost too peaceful to break. But I did anyway, 6 mornings every week. I climbed down the ladder in the deep end, pushed off and let everything else fade away, just the black line on the bottom of the lane and the sound of my own breathing, held, counted, and released. 40 laps, 50 when my mind was too noisy. On the hardest mornings, I stopped counting and kept swimming until my shoulders felt heavy. People thought I swam for exercise, and I did not correct them. It was easier than telling the truth. That underwater was the only place I'd ever found that was truly quiet. No phone, no voices, no one asking for anything from me. Just the water, the line, and the count. I am very good at understanding what people are hiding, but for 3 years I couldn't figure out why I did this before dawn every day. I thought I was staying strong, but really, I was learning how to hold my breath. Pueblo is a good town to be quiet in. It lies low and wide in the southern part of the state next to the Arkansas River with mountains off to the west. Summers are hot and dry, and winters are honest and plain. It used to be a steel town, though it mostly isn't now. People here don't brag or ask about money. No one has ever asked me how much my house is worth. I could have lived anywhere, but I chose a place where a man can do okay and still park an old car in the driveway without anyone noticing. That was the point. I didn't want attention. I wanted to be left alone. My work made that possible. We do jury consulting mostly. When a big trial happens, one of us usually flies out to help. I read jury panels the way others read the weather. I can tell who will forgive, who will resent, who appears to listen but thinks the opposite inside, and which quiet person will end up leading the discussion no matter who the official leader is. It's strange to be good at understanding people you will never really know. When I was younger, I wasn't careful about hiding this skill. I didn't mind if people knew I could see through them, but they never liked it. It seemed rude to them that I could tell their mask was thin. That Tuesday, I drove home from the pool with my hair still wet and the heater running. I stopped at the grocery store for coffee, cream, and a bag of dog treats they allowed at the shelter. I didn't think about anything at all, and that felt like a small win. The mail waited for me at home, a bank statement, a letter asking for donations, and a reminder that my car needed a checkup. I put them all on the counter with the rest in the tray next to the phone. The house looked just like I left it. It always did. At first I thought that felt nice. "You're home early," Mia said. She sat in the chair by the window where the morning sun stretched across the floor. She wore the gray cardigan she always wore, the one with a sleeve she played with when she was thinking. She had a way of being in a room that made it feel complete, like the room had been waiting for her all along. "Slow morning at the pool," I said. "I didn't stay long." "You never leave early," she smiled, the small smile that seemed to understand things. Mia tilted her head. "You left early?" "Yeah, I left early." I went to make coffee. I have a whole routine with the coffee. Grinding the beans, weighing them, waiting for the water to cool just right. I learned it somewhere and never stopped. Mia used to tease me, but now just watched quietly, like she was watching someone say a prayer. I poured a cup and drank it while standing at the counter, looking out at the yard that needed raking and would keep needing raking. When I finished, I rinsed my cup and put it in the rack to dry. One alone. The house was very quiet. The fridge hummed, and light moved softly across the floor. Mia sat in her chair, and I felt a little lost. "You have shelter today," she said. "Yeah, shelter today." "Good." She pulled her feet up under her. "Take the treats. Don't just leave them in the car like last time." I had, in fact, left the treats in the car last time. I didn't ask how she knew. Mia seemed to know everything about me, always had. After many years, that stops feeling like being watched and feels more like being cared for. The shelter is a small cinder-block building by the highway on the south side, with a fenced area in the back and a smell you stop noticing after a while. I have volunteered there on Tuesday afternoons for a little over 3 years now. I didn't pick it for any big reason. A woman I worked with said they needed dog walkers, and I needed a place that wasn't the house, the pool, or the office. A place where my hands would be busy and no one would expect me to talk. It turned out I was good at it. Like I am good at most things that require reading how someone feels without words. You learn which dogs want attention and which need you to give them space. If I'm honest, it's a bit like being on a jury, but the dogs are much easier to read than most people. After 3 years, I've become part of the place, the quiet man who understands scared animals and doesn't need help or thanks. Denise at the front desk waves me in without needing me to sign. The kennel staff gives me the harder cases. This place is the closest thing I have to a group of people, which sounds sad if I think about it too much. But inside, it doesn't feel sad at all. Those 90 minutes each week are the warmest part of my day. I mostly just come and don't think about it. Behind the front desk, there is a radio that only picks up one station, and Denise won't let anyone change it. So after 3 years, I've learned a lot of classic country songs I never wanted to know, and I can tell you more than I should about a man and his broken heart. By the door, there's a whiteboard for keeping track of feedings, but it mostly tracks one dog named Pilot. Pilot is a tan mix with a wild spirit known for opening every latch he can find. Someone started counting the number of times he has escaped, and that day the number was 14. That says a lot about Pilot, and not in a good way. The coffee there is bad and shared by everyone, but it's always ready. The good snacks are kept locked up because once a volunteer named Hank let a dog named Gravy eat a lot of them, and Gravy never seemed sorry at all. Everyone at the place has a story, a joke, and a dog they say they don't like more than the others, but actually do. The kennel staff give me the toughest dogs and tease me for being quiet, but they don't mean to be unkind. A girl named Priya even does a funny impression of me that I've never been allowed to see. I feel comfortable here in a way I don't anywhere else. No one asks if I'm okay, so I don't have to pretend. It's impossible to feel lonely when your arm is deep in a bin of dog food, a beagle is making a lot of noise, and somebody is arguing about the radio. There's no space for sadness in moments like that. That is why I come here, to be honest, more than for the dogs themselves. The noise pushes away the quiet. That afternoon, I was working with a shepherd mix named Duke. He was a big, nervous dog who had been returned twice before and learned from it, like they often do. Suddenly, I heard laughter from the next area. "No," a voice said with joy. "That is not a sit. You and I both know that." It was Emma. She volunteered on Tuesdays and some Saturdays, too. We'd seen each other for about a year, but didn't know much beyond greeting each other politely. She was crouched down in front of a beagle who was clearly refusing to obey. She was trying to get him to listen like she thought he might agree if she kept at it, but he wasn't having any of it, and she seemed to enjoy the challenge. Emma had a paperback book tucked into the back pocket of her jeans. Its spine was cracked from being carried all the time. Her phone was lying face up on the ground nearby. I saw her glance at it, and something on the screen made her first wince, then smile. "He's got your number," I said. He had my number as soon as I walked in. She stood up, brushing her knees off and moving her hair away from her face with her wrist. She looked tired, the kind of tired many of us show, and I didn't ask why because it wasn't my place to wonder. "How's Duke doing?" I asked. "Better. He let me clip his leash today without making a fuss." "Look at that," she said warmly to Duke. Duke, who rarely trusted anyone, wagged his tail on the floor. "You big faker, you're really sweet and you're going to mess it up in front of the next family, aren't you?" "He does," I said. "Every single time." She laughed easily. Then Denise called her name from the front desk about some papers for a transport. She gave Duke one last scratch behind the ear and left, a paperback book tucked in her pocket. I stayed a little longer. I didn't want to go home to the quiet, a strange thing to avoid when your whole life had been built around it. My phone buzzed while I was rinsing Duke's water bowl. It was Marcus. Marcus and Dana had been our friends once. We had done the usual couple things: dinners, short trips, and one trip to the coast where Marcus and I got sunburned while the women watched from under the umbrella laughing. Marcus was a good man. He kept reaching out. Dana was having a small get-together on Saturday, the message said. Nothing big, just a few people and some real food. "You should come. It's been too long. How's work?" I typed back. "Can't Saturday, busy with trial prep, rain check." "Heard from you is good. I wasn't really busy. The trial was still a way off and I wouldn't start preparing for it for a while." But the lie came out easy and complete, as usual, and I sent it before putting the phone away. "You should have gone," Mia said when I got home. Dinner was ready straight from the slow cooker. It was still warm, but I couldn't tell you when I had made it, which was normal now. I moved through the house that evening like someone walking through a dark room. "You could have gone on Saturday," she said again. She sat at the table wearing her gray cardigan, thumb rubbing the worn spot on the sleeve. "Marcus misses you." "I have the trial," I replied. "You have the trial," she repeated. She let the words hang in the air, like she didn't believe them but needed to, holding the little lie up so I'd have to face it too. Seth, it's been a long time since you saw anyone but a dog. I saw Emma today, I said. At the shelter. I didn't know why I said it. It was nothing much, the smallest truth I could give her to balance the big lie, like offering a coin at a shop. Mia went quiet in a way I didn't understand until much later. Then she smiled, but it was different from the smiles I knew before. It felt older, softer, with something deep behind it. "Did you?" she said. "She's good with the hard ones. The beagle nobody finds." I sat down across from her and picked up my fork. "It was nothing, I just meant, I saw someone today." "You saw someone today," she said quietly. I ate. She did not. But Mia never seemed hungry anymore. I had stopped noticing it. Like you stopped noticing the weather after a while. The light in the room slowly faded. She talked, and I answered, and the house held us just like it always did. "How was your day?" I asked later, because I always asked, and because I liked to hear her voice. She looked at me across the table, across the 2 empty plates and the one with food, across the quiet space I had made between us. "Quiet," she said. It was quiet. And I believed her. Truly. I believed her completely. I washed the 1 cup, dried it, put it away, and went upstairs to bed in the house where nothing ever changed. The next morning, I got up before the sun, drove to the pool, slid into the still water, held my breath, counted, and let it go. The call came on a Thursday. By Monday, I was in Phoenix. That's how the work goes. When a case gets big or scary enough, someone on the team remembers there's a man in Colorado who is supposed to be good at this. Then comes a flight, a hotel, and a conference room that looks like every other conference room. I have done this enough times that the details don't stand out anymore. I could pack my bag with my eyes closed. Sometimes I think I do. They wanted me for jury selection, which is the part I'm best at and the part that seems least important to most people. To outsiders, it just looks like a man sitting quietly with a legal pad while the lawyers talk. But what I'm really doing is reading. 60 questionnaires on the table, and by the second morning I could tell you which of those strangers would agree in court, but then change everything when the door closed. The nurse who folds her hands and already thinks she's smarter than everyone else. The friendly one at the front who wants to be liked and will follow whoever is nicest to him. It isn't magic. People show who they really are all the time. In small ways, they think no one notices, and most of the world agrees not to look. I get paid to look, and I'm good at it. I want that to be clear. The lawyers were good too, the way good lawyers are, and by the second day, they stopped acting like I was just a stranger they'd hired. Instead, they started treating me more like a teammate. That happens. I'm easy to work with while the work lasts. On the third evening, 2 of the younger lawyers stood near my chair while I packed my things. The taller one asked if I wanted to go out with them. They had found a place. It wasn't fancy, but everyone was going. "Thanks," I said. "I'm going to rest. Long day tomorrow." It wasn't really going to be a long day tomorrow. He nodded like it made sense, and they left. I heard them laughing near the elevator like friends who didn't worry about being careful around each other yet. I took the elevator alone. Hotel rooms are the loneliest rooms I know, not because they are empty, but because they are made to be empty and just given to you for a night. They feel clean, but cold, with no history or personality. You can feel how many people have come and gone. Nothing there had ever belonged to anyone, and for a few days, that included me. I ate at the hotel restaurant because it was downstairs, and I didn't have to talk to anyone. By the third night, the waiter stopped pretending he didn't know me. I ordered the same fish every time. I read the same news on my phone. Then I went back to my room. I didn't call home. Mia never liked to use the phone much. Sometimes late at night, I thought about the house, the reading chair by the window, the long light across the floor, and Mia sitting there. Then I pushed those thoughts away. There are parts of your own mind you learn to avoid. The fourth night, I couldn't sleep. This happened more when I was on the road than when I was home, which should have told me something about what home really meant. The TV was worse than the quiet. I opened my laptop to check my email, but I didn't answer any messages. Then I did what people do when they are alone in a dark room at 1 in the morning. I followed the small, bright path of the screen wherever it led. I won't try to make it sound better. I ended up where men often end up. But it wasn't what I expected. Or maybe it was at first. And then something changed. I found a wall of small lit rooms on the screen, dozens of them. Each one showed a person in a bedroom or kitchen, or a little corner made soft by a lamp. What stopped me wasn't what I first saw. It was that they were talking. One woman in a small window was saying hello to people she couldn't see. She read names from the screen and greeted them one by one, laughing at something someone wrote. She called a man Honey, using a name that wasn't his, or maybe wasn't anyone's. It was a show. I knew that deep down, the way I know a jury. But it was a show made to hit exactly the pain of being alone in a room at night, and it found my pain before I could look away. I stayed longer than I planned, and not just for the reason you might think. Someone was talking, and it felt almost like they were talking to me. That was the part I didn't understand about myself yet. That what I wanted wasn't a person. It was a voice in the room. It was for someone to say hello like their night included me. Then Mia came up inside me without any warning. The small, knowing smile, the gray shirt sleeve, and the guilt all came at once, like a wave, from nowhere and everywhere. A married man in a hotel watching a stranger sell kindness by the minute. I closed the laptop so hard the room went dark. The darkness after was complete. And mine. I stayed still for a long time. There was no one else in that room. That was the big difference between this place and any room at home. I told myself I wouldn't do it again. I believed it too, just like I believed every promise I made that year. I lasted 2 nights. That's the part no one talks about with a promise like the one I made in that dark room. You mean it. You mean it fully. But then the room goes dark again, and you find out that meaning it was never the hard part. On the 5th night, I opened the laptop and didn't try to say it was for email. The grid showed up, the little glowing rooms, and I scrolled without thinking, like flipping past strangers you will never know. I wasn't looking for anyone. There was no one to find. Then one window near the bottom caught me, and I couldn't say why. Something in that room. A lamp turned low. A shelf full of old books behind her, soft and out of focus. The name beneath the window was Vesper. She laughed at something on her screen, and she pushed hair off her face with the back of her wrist. That wrist was familiar. It all fell apart slowly. The books, the laugh, the wrist, then everything clicked, and it was Emma. Emma from the shelter. Emma who had been arguing with a little dog 4 days before while I clipped a leash on Duke a few feet away. Emma, on my screen, in my hotel, 1,000 miles from the last time I'd heard her voice. I don't know how to say what this does to you, 2 parts of your life that were never meant to meet, suddenly touching. It wasn't only shame I felt. Under the shame was something deeper, like dizziness or a loss of balance. I closed the laptop. I sat in the dark with my heart racing. I listened to my own breath fill the room. Then I opened it again. I told myself I was only checking if it was really her. It was really her. And knowing that was its own kind of stealing. She hadn't offered this to me. No one does. You either take it or you find it by accident, and either way, you end up holding something they never wanted to give away. There was a button. There's always a button. You can send them money, and the site makes a little show of it. A sound. Your name in gold for a moment so everyone knows a stranger paid. I still can't say exactly what I was hoping to do. I think I wanted to give her something. There was no good way to reach her except this, which wasn't much better. So I sent the most money the box would let me give, with 1 click, more than my whole trip had cost, to a woman I saw only on Tuesdays, to ease my guilt, for taking something she would never have given freely, for being creepy. The sound went off. Her face changed. She looked at the number, put her hand over her mouth, and laughed. A real laugh. Surprised. She leaned close to the camera and thanked the name I used, a nickname that wasn't really mine. Thank you. Oh, my God. Thank you so much. She meant it. That was the hardest part. She was thankful to me, even though she had no idea I was the quiet man from the shelter who had never once made her laugh on purpose. I closed the laptop. I didn't open it again. The shame stayed, but it felt different now. 2 nights before, it had been about Mia, about a man who didn't belong in the place he was. It was still that, but now it had a real face, one I might have to see soon. Someone who might live just minutes from me, someone who had just thanked me for money I gave to the one thing she was trying to keep private, just because I hadn't looked away. The trial finished the next day. I flew home on Friday. Somewhere over the mountains, I finally did the math I'd been avoiding since the sound went off. It was Wednesday. Tuesdays, I volunteered at the shelter. Tuesdays, she volunteered too. In 6 days, she would look up from a kennel, smile, and ask me how Duke was doing, and I would have to answer her. I had 4 days to find an excuse not to go. I'm good at making up reasons, but I couldn't find one that would seem real if I said it out loud. That's the problem with being someone people count on. They notice when you're not there. Denise at the front desk would call the house to check if I was okay. Then I'd have to explain why I wasn't there. So Tuesday came, and at 2 o'clock, I did what I always did. I drove to the shelter with a bag of treats and a stomach tight with worry. I had a plan. Stay in the far part where they keep the animals who have been there a long time. Let the whole building stay between me and the Beagle area. I volunteered for the jobs nobody wanted. The place was falling apart when I walked in, just like it usually did a few times a week. Somewhere in the back, a dog was howling in a long, soft sound. Then 2 other dogs joined in, as if they wanted to sing together. Out front, a tan dog I later learned was named Pilot came running fast around the reception desk. Ethan Poplin was chasing 4 feet behind him, but was losing ground. "Door, door, door!" Ethan shouted. "Somebody get the—" I moved to the door and held it shut with my body. Pilot bumped into my legs, thought for a moment, and then sat down to pant, as if we had planned to meet that way. "He does that," Denise said behind the desk without looking up from her papers. "Runs like the place is on fire, but stops as soon as someone stands still. Ethan, you could learn a thing or two from that dog." "I almost caught him," Ethan said, bending over with hands on his knees and hair in his face. "I almost had him." "You had the leash. He had the dog," Denise replied, clicking her pen. "This is the 3rd time today. He's broken the latch on run 4 again. I keep telling them to write it down, but they don't. And I'm not the one who will fill out the form if Pilot makes it out to the road." "We should give smart dogs special names," Ethan said, picking up Pilot and rubbing his face clean after the chase. "Names they can be proud of, like Maximus or Sir Reginald. This one's a Pilot, because the last one was Amelia. I named them. You clean up after them. That's how this place works," Denise said with a small smile. Denise runs the place with a rough style, like some people run on coffee. Everyone there knows her rough words are like fuel. They keep the place going. And they also know she never lets a frightened animal stay scared while she's in charge. "Seth, are you catching dogs now? Or are you just here to work?" she asked. "Looks like both," I said. "Then hold that door and take him back to run 4. And tell whoever's playing the harmonica in intake that this is a place of work." Someone in intake was actually playing a harmonica. I carried Pilot back through the noise. The dog laid himself over my arm like a big, tired load of laundry and let out a long sigh, as if he had escaped nothing and was simply done with it. For just a second, in that loud, bright building full of people who cared about each other, I forgot to be on guard. Then I remembered like I always did. When we got back, I asked Denise if I could help with the new arrivals in the back, the scared ones. She looked at me like I had just asked for extra work. "You feeling okay, Seth?" "Fine. I just want to help." "You're always helpful. You want to be invisible. That's different." She said it kindly, then went back to her papers. I stood there feeling exposed, which is not a feeling I liked, especially from the other side of the desk. But I didn't go to the back. Not yet. I had been coming here for 3 years. The front desk had a certain smell and sound and small details that felt familiar. But that morning, 3 things were different. First, the coffee. Denise always used a strong, dark roast that she bought with her own money and kept like a secret. But today, the pot had weak, cheap coffee from a big can in the back, the kind meant for volunteers. Second, Denise wore a cardigan over her fleece jacket, even though they were inside. The thermostat near the door said 62 degrees, and Denise was the kind of person who made sure the building stayed warm for the older dogs as a rule. Third, the donation jar. It used to sit by the cat room in the back, where only staff saw it. Now someone had moved it to the front desk, turned so the handwritten label faced the door. "You're having money problems," I said. "Bad enough you moved the jar where everyone can see it and feel guilty, and you haven't told the volunteers. Half of them would give money they don't have, and the others would stop coming quietly." Denise put down her pen. "You turn down the heat and switch to bad coffee before you cut anything for the animals," I said. "That's how I know it's serious and not just a slow month. You'd rather be cold than let them suffer." She looked at me for a moment, trying to figure out how I knew. "How did you know that?" she asked. "I haven't told anyone." "That's it," I said. "People who are struggling let others see it, even if they don't say it out loud. You've been carrying it all alone." I shrugged. "That's what I do. I notice when someone tries to hide it. It's the one thing I've always been right about." I believed it. I would keep believing it for a while. "It's bad," she finally said. Then it all came out quickly, like when you're scared but need to tell someone. "Grant stopped. The county cut our funding. The heater is barely working, held together with tape and frustration. We aren't closing." She said, "We aren't closing," twice, like someone trying to keep hope alive. "But we need this town to remember us and give us some help. And we need it by spring. So do the thing you've already started," I said. "I see the flyer you have under that folder." She almost smiled. "The Poplin family is putting on a benefit. That jug band that plays at the county fair. Free, God bless them. It's not a party, Seth. It's what keeps us afloat." She straightened the folder. "You should come. Bring your money and any quiet friends you have." "I'll come," I said, surprising both of us. The back of the place was supposed to be safe. It wasn't, because that's where they had the new young helper. He was college age, awkward but eager, sitting on the cold floor with a shy old dog who had come in the week before. He had the dog's head resting in his lap and spoke to it in a calm, steady voice, the kind some people just have naturally. "Hey," he said, looking up. "You're Seth, right? Denise says you're the one who helps nervous dogs. This is Biscuit. He's not nervous, just old. Right, Biscuit?" "Ethan," Denise called from near the front. "Did you log the meds?" "Yes, ma'am." He smiled at me and reached out his hand across the room. I had to walk over to shake it. "Ethan Poplin. I'm new. Well, kinda new. Poplin. I knew the name like a street you pass every day without really seeing. A lot of my firm's work came through Liz Armigito. She was this kid's aunt, and Liz and this boy's mother had been some of the first people to support my company. Wait, was she still a Poplin? Didn't they get divorced? Whatever. Either this boy's mom was Mary Ann, or his dad's ex-wife was one of our backers. I'd sat across fancy tables with the people who helped raise this kid, and here he was, sitting on a plain floor with an old dog named Biscuit, not caring that I knew any of that. You'd think it would make the world feel small. Instead, it made me feel like I belonged. "We lost our dog over the summer," he said without being asked, like young people do when they talk easily. "Captain Thor. We had him since I was little. My brother and I named him." He gently rubbed the hound's ears. "Mom said no more dogs for a while, so I come here instead. You can love a whole building of dogs and not have to say goodbye to any of them yourself." I didn't have anything to say to that. It was true, and he said it so simply. "Well," he went on, because silence didn't seem to bother him, "you should come to the benefit next month. My family's band is playing for the shelter. It's kind of a big deal. My sister's the good one. She plays the fiddle and does classical music. Then there's my dad, my brother, and me. And Gus, of course. You should come. Emma's helping run it." When he said her name, something changed in his face, a small, hopeful smile. I've spent my career reading looks like that, and on him it needed no guesswork. "Emma's amazing," he said, then caught himself and looked a little embarrassed. "With the dogs. She's really good with them." "She is," I said. "She's smart, too. Did you know she's a book editor?" He was up on his knees now, forgetting Biscuit for a moment. I told her I'd read whatever she's working on, and she laughed, but I really meant it. "I'm sure you did. She's good people. With dogs and people." He looked at me, then pulled himself back down as if trying to stay grounded. "She's older, obviously. I know it sounds silly. It's just nice, that's all." Talking to someone who talks back like you're a real person. I looked at this kid, maybe 20 years old, already missing a dog he had buried. He said the truest thing anyone had said to me in a long time, and I realized I was jealous of him. He could like her openly. He liked her honestly. "Ethan." Her voice came from the doorway. "Denise says you pushed Seth into the intake wing. Some of us wanted him." Emma stood in the light by the front door. A leash hung over one shoulder, a small book stuck in her back pocket. She smiled at the kid, then at me. It was a simple smile, but it hit me like electricity. Ethan jumped up so fast he almost knocked over Biscuit's water bowl. "How was the road?" she asked me. "Denise said you were out of town. And how's my boy Duke? Did he forgive you for leaving?" There it was. The question I had worked hard to avoid. She was just 9 feet away, with a leash on her shoulder, asking about the dog. She probably didn't know she had once thanked me for invading her privacy in a room far away. "He'll hold a grudge for about a day," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "He's fine. He even let me clip the leash again." "Of course he did. He's a trickster." She said it warmly, the same word she used a month ago. Ethan laughed too loud. She gave him the easy smile you give a little brother. and the three of us stood there in the smell of bleach and dogs. I have never wanted so badly to be anywhere else, and yet I stayed completely still. She looked at me a moment longer than polite talk called for. "You look tired, Seth. You okay?" "Long trip," I said. "I'm fine." She let it go, the way kind people do when they hear a lie they know is protecting you. Then Denise called her, and she left. Ethan watched her go with complete honesty in his face. I watched him watch her, and then I cleaned kennels until my hands hurt. Dinner was waiting when I got home. Crockpot stew again. I ate it standing up, which I never do, and Mia noticed, which she always does. "Sit down," she said. "You'll upset your stomach and blame the shelter." I sat. She was in her chair, wearing a gray cardigan, feet tucked up, watching me with the quiet patience of someone with all the time in the world. "Tough day?" "Just tired." She let it hang there like she accepted my easy answer. "The shelter woman, Emma." I put my fork down. "What about her?" "Nothing." She smiled, but there was something deeper under it, something older. "You came in with her name on your mind. You carry people like that. Always have." "There's a kid," I said, because it was safer to talk about him. "One of the Poplin boys. He has a huge crush on her. It's sweet. It's a little sad." "Why sad?" I didn't answer. The answer was that the boy could say it out loud, but I couldn't, and I didn't know why I wanted to say it yet. "Eat," Mia said softly. "And Seth. The ones who are scared, the ones who hide in the back. They don't have to. They are paying for something they shouldn't." I ate. She didn't. The light moved along the wall the way it always did, and I told myself she was talking about the dogs. But she wasn't. Liz Armigito had a conference room big enough for an important meeting. She ran it like a woman who never waited for anyone to give her permission to speak. "He's lying," she said before I'd taken off my coat. "Seat 6, the retired postman. He said on the questionnaire that he can be fair, but I want him out. Tom says keep him. We've been going back and forth for an hour. Sit down, decide." "Good morning to you too, Liz." It was a good morning until Tom opened his mouth. "Coffee's by the window. Sit." I had worked with many trial lawyers before. Most of them wanted me there just so they could blame me if they lost. Liz wanted me there so she could win. That made her different, and made the long drive across town on only 4 hours of sleep worth it. Her law firm took the cases others in Pueblo didn't want, the hard ones with no easy answers. This one was tough. A plant explosion on the east side, 3 men hurt, and a company that had been cutting corners for 9 years to save money. We were 3 days from trial and had to pick 12 people to decide the case. "Show me 6, I said. Tom slid the questionnaire over. I didn't bother reading it. I had already gone over all 60 of them twice at home. At times, I'd rather forget. "He's not lying," I said. "He said he has no opinion about large companies, but everyone has an opinion about large companies." "He does have one. He just doesn't realize it yet. That's different, and good for you." I found the part I wanted. "Look at question 40. His hobbies. He restores tractors. Then look at his work history. 31 years, same job, retired with full pension. That's a man who believes big organizations keep their promises because his did. He'll walk in there wanting to believe the company. Don't strike him. You seat him and let the other side waste a chance getting rid of him. They'll see retired union postman on the top of the list and get nervous." Liz looked at me for a moment. Then she smiled. That kind of smile where only the bottom of her face moves, but her eyes keep working. "See?" she said to Tom. "That's why he gets the parking spot. I don't get a parking spot." "You could. I've offered." She was already 3 names down the list. 19. The nurse. We went through them like that for 2 hours, and I want to be honest about those 2 hours, because I haven't been very honest before. They were the best I felt all month. In that room, I wasn't a man with a lost wife sitting in a chair. I was the best in the building at a hard job, and everyone there could see it. I moved through those 60 strangers, reading their small signs like big writing. The nurse who led the talk and never raised her voice. The friendly man in seat 19 who agreed with whoever spoke last, so he would end up agreeing with the wrong person in the jury room. The young woman in 11 who wrote careful answers and didn't want to be controlled. I could do this. That mattered to me. I held tight to that skill like it was my last hope. Put a room full of people in front of me, and I can tell you who they really are before they finish telling you who they want to be. That's the one thing I have never been wrong about. "You're quiet today." Liz said later after Tom had left to deal with the clerk's office, leaving just the two of us, cold coffee, and 60 faces spread across the table. I'm always quiet. You're usually loud quiet. Today you're very quiet. She stacked the papers without looking at them, making neat edges. Liz doesn't fidget. She was giving her hands something to do, so her eyes looked casual, and I noticed. Are you eating? Liz, I ask my people. It's a thing now since Scott. I'm annoying about it. Ask Shannon, she'll say I'm annoying. She put the stack down. You look like a man losing something important. I've buried enough to know the look. There it was. The one person in my life who reads people for work, just like me, sitting across the table staring at what I'd spent 3 years trying to hide. For a brief moment, I felt it all rise up inside me. My wife, the chair, the cold tea, the woman on the screen, everything, like a door was opening. Long trial season, I said. I'll sleep in July. She held my gaze a moment longer than needed. She understood. Not exactly what was going on, but that something was wrong. People like Liz and me always feel when there is something wrong. We allow each other to keep it secret, out of respect. July, she said, and moved on. Seat 6 stays, seat 19 stays, God help us. And Seth. She pointed a pen at me as I stood. The benefit, the shelter thing, my brother-in-law's band is playing, and Shannon has gotten half the office to come. You're coming. I don't know. Not a question. It's a plan. You've said no to everything for 3 years, and I've let you because you're good, and grief gives you a lot of time with me. The rope's run out? She said it without any softness at all, which somehow made it soft. Buy a ticket. Wear a button-up shirt. Stand in a loud room with people who like you, and remember you're a person. It's for the dogs, for heaven's sake. You like the dogs. I like the dogs. Then it's decided. She was already reaching for the phone. Close the door on your way out, and eat something. You're making me feel like a bad hostess, and I'm a good one. I drove home thinking about the people I would meet, how to sit next to some and avoid others, 60 strangers I would know without guessing. I let myself in. Mia was down the hall, further off than before, a soft light glowing in the room. How was Liz? She asked. She wants me at the benefit. Made it sound like an order. I always liked that woman even though I've never met her. A pause. Warm. You should go, Seth. So people keep telling me. I stood in the kitchen a while. The good feeling I had started to fade, like it always does at those moments when you almost feel okay. I thought about knowing so many people in a room, and yet living 3 years, just a few feet from a chair, without ever letting myself see the one thing that mattered about it. It's strange to have this gift, to see everyone so clearly, but to build your life by refusing to look. I told Mia everything. I always did. That's how we were. All those years, every fear and ugly little thought laid out between us like letters we sorted together. So it was never a question of if I would tell her about the woman on the screen, only when. I held it for 4 more days. Those days were hard. I swam every morning at 5:30 and worked at the office all day. At night, I'd come home to the quiet and carry the feeling inside me like a heavy stone. Twice at dinner, I opened my mouth to speak but closed it again. Mia let me be. She always knew when silence wanted company and when it needed space. She gave me space, and it was the hardest kind. On the 5th night, I put down my fork and said, I have to tell you something. It's not good. She put her book on the arm of the chair. She wore a gray cardigan, her feet tucked beneath her. The lamp made a little warm spot around her in the dark room. Okay, she said, tell me the bad thing. So I did. I told her about the hotel and the night I couldn't sleep, about the laptop and the screen that showed me rows of little lit rooms. I told her I went back, about the woman in the window, the paperbacks, the band on her wrist, and how everything broke down and then came back together as someone I knew, someone from the shelter, a person I said hi to on Tuesdays. I made myself say the rest, the price, how much. She had laughed and thanked someone with a name that wasn't mine, and she really meant it. Then there was the new, harder part, the part I only understood after standing on a cold floor 2 days ago. Seeing her in the daylight, looking normal with a leash on her shoulder, asking about my dog, didn't make my guilt smaller. It turned into something else. She had been kind to me, and I liked it. I thought, God help me, I might be feeling something. That feeling sat heavy in my chest like a betrayal with her name on it. I said everything I needed to say and then couldn't look at her. I looked at my hands. While I talked, I made 2 cups of tea, letting my hands move while my mind was busy. Her hands rested on the table between us as her tea cooled. I drank mine. I prepared myself for pain on her face because I thought I had caused it. When someone tells you this kind of thing, you can expect to see hurt. "Seth," she said, "look at me." I did. There was no pain on her face. That was the first strange thing, but I was too tired to call it strange. She was calm, like always, and under that calm was something I couldn't name. Something like relief. It was as if finally I had put down a heavy burden she had been watching me carry for a long time. "You think you did something to me," she said. "But you didn't. I watched a woman on a camgirl site. I paid her. I've been wanting to see her again. And here you are, sitting here, patiently, kindly. I'm here," she said with a small smile. "I'm not going anywhere. That's never been your worry. You should be angry." "Angry at what? You being lonely?" She shook her head slowly, the light moving softly on her sweater. "I could be angry at many things, but never at you for being lonely. That would be like being angry that you breathe." I wanted to reach out to her, but I didn't. The words were working now, so I held the arms of my chair and let her keep talking. "She sounds kind," Mia said. "The line about the dog being fake, that's funny. I'd have liked her." "Don't." "Why not?" "Because it's easier if I'm the one hurt." There was no anger in her voice. She was one of the gentlest people I ever knew, talking gently as if I stood at the edge of something big. "You've spent 3 years being very, very careful, Seth. You keep the house just the same. You swim straight with no turns. You take the quiet jobs where no one watches you, and now some woman smiles and laughs about your dog and cracks something inside you. Instead of letting the light in, you're here apologizing to me for the crack. Because it feels like I'm leaving you." She was quiet for a moment. The fridge made a soft sound in the background. Nothing in the room had moved in 3 years, and nothing moved now. "It isn't," she said at last. "I promise you it isn't. Wanting to feel less alone doesn't mean loving me less. You should know the difference between grief and love. You just don't want to. You want me to see her again. I want you to be someone still living in the world." She brushed a lock of hair behind her ear, a move I had seen so many times before. "That's all I've ever wanted while sitting here. I want you to want things again. Go to the event. Talk to the woman with the small book. Let the young man show you something about sharing out loud." I laughed. A sudden quiet sound I hadn't expected. "He's only 20. He doesn't know much. He knows one thing you've forgotten." She looked at me, and for a moment she seemed almost sad. Not for herself, never for herself. "How was your day, Seth?" That was the question she asked me every night. Now she handed it back to me, making sure I heard it. "Loud," I said. "For once." "Good," Mia said. "About time." I finished my tea. Her cup stayed where it was, cold and unused. 2 cups on a table where only one of us was drinking. I didn't notice it anymore. I had stopped seeing it a long time ago. I went upstairs feeling lighter than when I had come down, which should have scared me more than it did. She had taken the weight. She had taken the brakes off, too. I lay in the dark and didn't think about my guilt for the first time in weeks. Instead, I thought about a woman with a leash over her shoulder and a book in her back pocket, and about how, carefully, a man might find her again. "The young man invited me to something," I said. "A benefit. His family is playing." Mia looked up from her book. "The Jug Band. Everyone in town knows them." "You've seen them?" "At the county thing, years ago. The dad plays fiddle." She held her place with a finger. "Are you going?" I said I'd think about it. "That's not a no." She was happy. She didn't try to hide it, and never did. "What will you wear?" "It's a shelter benefit, Mia. In a gym. So a shirt with buttons." "I have shirts with buttons." "You have shirts with buttons that make men cry in courtrooms." She went back to her book. "Wear the gray one. You look like a person in the gray one." I washed the dishes. 2 plates, because I had used 2 plates. The water was hot enough to sting, and I let it. Outside the window, the yard turned blue, then dark. Behind me, she turned a page, and I stood with my hands in the sink, thinking about a gym full of people and the woman with the leash, and all the things that could go wrong in a place like that. Then I dried my hands, picked up the laptop from the counter, and carried it into the kitchen. She wasn't there. That was the whole choice, right there. I made it in a few quick steps. I've argued longer with myself about what sandwich to eat. The website knew me. It had my username, that nickname she'd thanked me for, and it had my card saved. It opened like an old friend. I typed her name into the box. The screen went gray. It said, "This performer is not available in your area." I read it twice. Then I sat back and stared at that polite gray box with the gentle message. I understood what it meant because anyone would. They block where you are. They keep your neighbors out. The man at the store, the mom from the carpool line, the guy you say hello to on Tuesdays. In Phoenix, I was just a stranger. At home, I was part of the wall itself. I want to say I closed the laptop. But what I really did was open a new tab. It took 9 minutes. I know because the clock on the coffee maker was right in front of me. It said 9:14 when I started and 9:23 when the receipt came through. There is a whole business for this. Sleek little sites with cartoon shields and monthly plans, all promising privacy with bright, friendly words. I picked one from the second row without thinking much. $11.99. I grabbed my wallet off the counter and typed the card numbers into the boxes. Name, as it appears. I typed my real name, Seth, letter by letter, into a form designed to make me lie about where I was. Billing zip code. Mine. Everything true. Then a drop-down list of cities, and I had to pick one. I don't know how long I sat there. Longer than the rest. I scrolled past Denver twice because Denver felt too close, which didn't make much sense and didn't really matter. Then I picked a city in Ohio I've never been to and couldn't say a single true thing about. I don't know why that felt better. It wasn't better. It was just somewhere Emma had never hidden from. The email came before I was done. "Welcome, you're protected." There was an exclamation mark and a little cartoon lock. I installed it. I clicked connect. A green dot showed up in the corner of my screen, and somewhere far away a machine agreed I was a man in Ohio. I got up, filled a glass at the sink, and drank it all standing there. I took an antacid next to the allergy pills and chewed it. There I was in my own kitchen at 9:30 at night, feeling like a man with heartburn. Then I sat back down and reloaded the page. The gray box blinked once, then disappeared. And there she was, lamplight soft behind her, the paperbacks stacked quietly. That room she had worked hard to make sure no one in this town could walk into. She was smiling, saying hello to men she couldn't see. She held a mug of something warm. She was fine, working at her place, not knowing that something big had happened just 9 minutes away from her door. "Seth?" Mia called from another room. She didn't come close this time. My hand moved toward my laptop but stopped. Closing it would make a sound, and that sound would mean something. "Yeah. You coming up?" "In a bit," I said. "Just checking some things for Liz." I could tell my lie came out easy. It was made from guilt and shame. For 3 years, I had told that woman every bad thought I had, every fear, everything. Now I was giving her a sentence I made up, and I said it through a doorway. "Don't stay up all night," she said. "I won't." She went quiet, the way she always did. The fridge hummed softly. On the screen, Emma laughed at something a stranger wrote and pushed her hair behind her ear. I sat in the dark kitchen with a small green light in the corner of the screen, watching her for an hour without turning on any lights. I noticed that later. I came to know Vesper. I understood Vesper better than I did when I saw her at the hotel. Vesper was a job, and Emma was good at it, just like she was good with scared dogs. She helped strangers feel less alone for as long as they needed and didn't ask for anything back except what they wanted to give. She said hello, laughed at what they typed, and called them names that weren't really theirs. It was skilled work, but somewhere along the way I stopped seeing it just as a job. Then the room emptied out. It does late at night. The people who paid drift off to bed or to whatever comes next. The small group watching got smaller, and she thought she was alone. She reached out of view and pulled a laptop onto her lap. And then Vesper was gone, and Emma came back. At first, I wasn't sure what I was seeing. She froze, leaned forward, lowered her chin, and her eyes moved quickly like someone reading fast. Her mouth moved quietly, as if she was saying sentences to herself, checking how they sounded, like testing a note in a song. Then she frowned, typed something, and the look on her face was pure happiness. Never before had I wanted something as much as I wanted to know which sentence she'd just rejected and why it made her feel good to do so. She was editing. Between visitors, during the quiet moments, with the camera still on because it had to be on, she was doing the real work. The work she would do even without pay. I wasn't just interested in the woman on the screen. I was drawn to the person behind her. At least that's what I told myself. Part of me knew that most men tell themselves similar things. But still, the woman who forgot about the camera when her words caught her was real and honest in a way I hadn't seen before. She laughed out loud at something in a stranger's manuscript. It was a real laugh, the kind she had given before to Duke, to the kid, and to the men who paid her, but this time, it was for no one. It was the only honest thing in the room. I was the only one there to see it. And I didn't deserve to see it even once. After that, I watched many nights. I'm not proud of it. I learned about her, not the parts she showed to others, the parts she thought no one wanted to see. Yes, it was creepy. She wore glasses when she edited, cheap ones. She pushed them up on her head when she rubbed her tired eyes, and she did this a lot because she was worn out. I knew that kind of tiredness. I had felt it before. Near the end of the sessions, her phone would light up with something she had been waiting for. She would freeze and then lean back against the wall, a sign of relief or maybe frustration. That was as close as I ever got to her. I got this by sneaking in. No one does this for fun. I knew she was carrying a weight, a heavy one. A smart, funny, tired woman sat in front of a camera she wanted to turn off. She tried to look calm so she could go back to the pages she loved. I didn't know what that weight was yet, but I saw it. Everybody carries something. Hers came with cheap glasses and a red pen. I fell for the whole hidden burden, even though I came from the wrong side of the wall she put up to keep me out. That's when the guilt stopped being simple. Wanting her had been bad enough. A lonely man, a stranger on a screen, a wife he believed in. You can almost forgive a man for that. But now, it wasn't just wanting anymore. I had caught feelings, the exact thing you promise yourself you won't do, and every part of it felt like poison. I was betraying Mia, but not in the way with her body, the part she had already forgiven. I was betraying her with my heart and mind, the part she really cared about. I let my feelings creep in toward a woman I was supposed to see face to face across a kennel on Tuesday. I still wanted her. That want hurt even more because something deeper was underneath it. And under it all, steady and cold, was the truth. I hadn't earned any of this, honestly. I had slipped through a hole I made in the only wall she had built to protect herself. I saw her that Tuesday. She asked if I was getting enough sleep. The kid was there, bright and cheerful. I said something and left the room quickly. In my car, in the shelter parking lot, I put my head on the steering wheel. A good woman had looked at my tired face and worried about me. I had watched her cry over a sad story at 1 a.m. from behind a lie about where I lived. So I made a choice to stop. I decided in the way I make the choices that matter. The program that said I lived in a city I'd never seen would be deleted. The watching would end. I was ready to give it all up. The wanting, the stealing, and go back to a quiet house with clear lines and a life I could live. I would be loyal. I owed Mia that much. I owed Emma her space back, even if she never knew I had taken it away. I closed the laptop and went to find my wife. I wanted to tell her I was done reaching for things outside, that I had tried, but it only made me lose myself, that I chose her just like I did when I was 22, and I wanted to stay home with her. I didn't want to pretend I could be someone I was not anymore. She was sitting in the reading chair wearing her gray sweater lit by the same soft lamp again. She looked up when I came in. She already knew. She always knew. "Seth," she said, before I could say anything. There was a quiet tiredness in her face I hadn't seen before. Older, softer. "Sit down, we need to talk." "Please," she said again, even softer. I didn't sit. I had a speech ready, and I was afraid if I sat down, I'd lose my courage. So I stood there, in the middle of my own living room, and tried to explain. I have to let her go. I know I do. I got confused and made a mistake. Something bad, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to fix it and stop. The words rushed out. I want to stay. With you. Here. I chose you a long time ago, and I meant it. I'm choosing you again. She let me finish. She always did, even when I was just trying to pull myself back from breaking. "I know you are," she said quietly. "And that's the problem, love. That's the whole problem." She looked at me with kind eyes, but I could see the sadness too. "Seth, you can't stay with me. I need you to listen, and I need you to stay here and hear this. You've been running from it for 3 years. It's why you can't breathe." She took a soft breath, one she didn't really need. I died. You know that. You've always known. I wasn't shocked. There was no feeling of falling, no losing the ground. When she said it, something inside me opened. A quiet room I had kept locked for so long. I had known it from the hotel, from the shelter, from every morning when I sat alone and held my breath under cold water. I had known all along. I had spent everything I had trying not to know. I knew the time. 3 years, 4 months, and 24 days. You don't count time like that for someone who is just in the next room. You keep that count for a grave. Well, yeah, I said, trying to explain. I don't want this thrown in my face. I was there. I was there, Mia. We're still us. It's not just one thing or the other. We're not a light switch that can be on or off. I love you. You love me. That's all. I don't want to talk about this. Suddenly, everything I had kept inside came out. The hard year, the empty chair by the bed, how her hand had felt lighter in mine week after week until it wasn't there at all. I had carried that empty feeling with me for 3 years and never let it go. I sat down, not because she told me to, but because my legs couldn't hold me. And then, all the feelings I had held back for 3 years came rushing out. I don't have words to describe it. It wasn't crying. It was like a flood going away, all the walls I built falling down, and me left on the wet sand, finally feeling the loss of my wife. There it is, she said gently. Oh, love, there it is. I've waited so long for you to let this out. She didn't come close. Never had in those 3 years, and I understood why. It was the hardest and clearest truth I learned that night. She couldn't cross the room. She never could. All she ever did was sit quietly, love me without saying much, and wait for me to be ready. And I had made her wait this long, because being ready meant this moment. Why now? I finally asked. I knew. I'm not crazy. Why bring this up now? We could just... What, Seth? What could we have done? Keep watching you barely live instead of really living. Lose pieces of yourself every month to that shadow. That's not a life. That's not what I want for you. If you really remember me, you'd know that would never have made me happy. Why now? Because you came down those stairs ready to give up. No blame in her voice. Only sadness. You found something out there. A woman who laughs at your dog and cares deeply about others. And it scared you so much you tried to come back here to hide with me. But I love you too much to be part of giving up, Seth. I won't be the reason you stopped fighting. I stared, wanting to ask the question I was afraid to say out loud. Was she real? Somehow I found the courage to ask that. But not the next question. Not the one about whether I was broken or losing my mind. I stayed on the floor for a while. She let me. You know stopping won't fix things with her, she said finally, a quiet strength behind her soft words. That was the thing that always kept her honest. What you did to that woman. Seeing the truth about me doesn't undo it. You still hurt her? You still watched from a distance, and feeling sad about me doesn't make it right. I know. You can't fix it from here with me. She looked toward the window, toward the town, toward everything I had been avoiding for 3 years. Things we do to others only get better out there. That's going to cost you, and it should. But you have to be alive to pay it. She didn't disappear. A small part of me had expected her to go, like a candle being snuffed out, but she stayed. Quieter now, a little farther away, like a radio playing low in another room. The lamp was the same. The house was the same. But something that had been tightly closed for 3 years had finally opened, and I sat on the floor, breathing in and out. Really breathing. No counting, no signs to hold on to. I mourned my wife. She was gone. She had been telling me all along, in every small thing she never could do. She didn't say hello. That was the first thing I noticed. I came in at 2 with treats, and Denise waved me away without looking up. Emma was at the end of the hall holding a clipboard. She saw me but didn't say hello. She looked at me like someone looking at a car they need to cross in front of. Ethan was in the front room with Biscuit, bright and cheerful. He talked about a benefit, tickets, a table, asking if I wanted one. I said yes, though I don't remember choosing to say that. Seth, Emma came up the hall. Walk with me. Take Duke. It wasn't a question, and she didn't wait for an answer. I grabbed Duke's leash from the hook on the wall. He started his silly happy dance, and I followed Emma out the back door into the yard where the runs were. The door slammed behind us, and we were alone, with only a fence and a dog. She walked about 20 feet and stopped. "March 11th, she said. "You were in Phoenix." Duke pulled toward the fence, so I let the leash go loose. "Denise told me," she said. "She said you were out of town. That's why I asked about the road." Emma crossed her arms. Her voice was flat and careful, like someone who had practiced saying this many times. "That same week, someone tipped me more money than I usually make in a month, all in one payment, from Phoenix. No one tips like that. No one. I stared at it for 2 days, wondering if it was a mistake." I didn't say anything. Duke sniffed something in the grass. "Then last month, I got a login on that account from Ohio." She paused. "I thought it was a coincidence, just someone who traveled a lot, but—" Her jaw moved tightly. "There's a man here who used to talk to me, and after he came back from Phoenix, he started leaving rooms when I came in, asking Denise for the back kennels, looking at the floor." The dog snuffled. A door slammed somewhere inside the building. "So I'm going to ask you once," Emma said. "Is it you?" "Yes," I said. She had been ready to argue or fight, but I saw the fight fade from her eyes, replaced by something heavier. I realized I had taken the last thing she held on to, the chance to be wrong. "You're supposed to lie," she said softly. "God. You're supposed to at least lie." "I know. I blocked this state." Her voice broke, but she caught herself. "Do you understand what that means? It's not a preference, not me playing shy. It's everything. It's the only thing standing between that room and every person I have to face in the daylight." "I know what it means." "Then how?" She was crying now, angry too, wiping her face as if it was a bother. "How do you get around that? That's not a mistake, Seth. You don't just end up in Ohio by accident." "I bought a program," I said. $11.99. It took 9 minutes. VPN. Jesus. "I'm telling you because you asked, not because I think it helps. Nothing about it makes it better." Duke came back and leaned on my leg. "I saw you in Phoenix by accident. Everything after that I did on purpose." She turned away and looked at the fence, hugging herself, and I let her be. A truck passed on the road. Her silence lasted a long time. "How often?" she said to the fence. "That doesn't matter. Don't do that. Don't decide what matters for me. That's the whole problem with you. You decided." She turned back around. "How much?" "A lot of nights." She nodded slowly, thinking it through, like I had on a flight high above the ground. But hers counted every night of her life. "Then you know," she said. "I know you edit between viewers. I know you use cheap glasses and you're tired all the time. I know you check scores from games that ended before you woke up." My voice was shaking in a way I couldn't stop. "I know you laugh at people's stories when no one else is around, but only at the parts where you're supposed to laugh, because you're not cruel." "Stop. You asked." "I asked how much. I didn't ask you to." She stopped and began again. "You don't get to say you know me. You didn't learn anything about me. You just took it." "That's right." She looked at me. "You're not going to argue with me," she said. "No." "Say the rest then. Whatever the rest is. You're lonely, or your life is hard, or you didn't mean it. Everyone's got a story." Her chin was high. "Let's hear it." And there it was, right there inside me. My wife is gone. I've been talking to her for 3 years, sitting in the reading chair by the window. A few weeks ago, she said it herself. Since then, I haven't slept well. I could have laid it out in the space between us and watched it work. She's a kind person. It would have worked. "No," I said. "There isn't a rest to it. I did it because I wanted to and because I could. I knew what the block was for while I was getting past it. That's all there is." Anything else I said now would just be me trying to get out of this. The wind picked up and blew some paper cups off the picnic table by the fence. Neither of us went to catch them. "I'm not going to ask you for anything," I said. "I just want to say the words I owe you, and then I'll go. I'm sorry I broke your wall. Not sorry I looked. That's not the problem. You made that room, and of course people could see it. I'm sorry I broke the one thing you built to keep yourself safe. I'm sorry you have to know it can be broken now. That was mine. I caused that, and you can't undo it, and neither can I. You deserve better." She didn't answer. "It's off my machine, the program, around an hour after I realized what I'd become." I handed her Duke's leash. He went to her just like he always does, that easy way. "I'll stop coming here. Tuesdays are yours. I'll tell Denise I'm traveling more, and she won't ask." That seemed to affect her more than anything else. Something passed across her face. You'd give up the shelter. It's not a choice to use against you. I'm not here hoping you say no. I looked at the building, the gray block walls, the fences, the runs. 3 years of Tuesdays. It's just the truth. You shouldn't have to work around me in a place you love. Emma looked down at Duke, who rested his head against her knee, trying to look sad. Don't, she said finally. Don't stop coming. Emma. The dogs didn't do anything. She wiped her face again. When she looked up, her eyes were steady and there was nothing soft in them. You come on Tuesdays because they need you then. That's all. It's not me saying otherwise. Understood. And I don't want to talk to you. Not for a while. Maybe not ever. She held the leash out, and I took it back. I need you to be okay with not knowing which. Okay. Okay, she said. She went inside first. I stayed outside a moment with Duke, picked up the paper cups from the grass because someone had to, then went inside to clean the kennels until 5, and drove home. The house was quiet. Mia was there, but further away than before, like a small light in a room down the hall. She looked up when I came in, but didn't ask how it went. She'd have known. She always did. You didn't use me? She said. No. Good. She spoke softly. That cost you something, and you paid it. She can't see that you paid it. That's most of what being decent means, doing the right thing when no one is watching. I sat down on the floor, back against the couch, the way I hadn't since I was 22. I stayed there a long time in the dark, and for once I didn't want to be somewhere else. The next Tuesday, I came in and did the usual tasks. The routine was a comfort, and I needed that. Pilot's count was at 19. Someone had drawn a small crown over the number 19. The radio was losing a man to whiskey and a woman to Tulsa. Denise sat at the desk with her reading glasses low on her nose. I signed the paper I had to sign. I asked her which dog would make my afternoon hard. She said it would be Pilot. We both knew it would be Pilot. Then I saw the book. It was face down by her coffee cup, an old paperback with soft corners and an orange sticker on the back. 4 for $10. Fred's Bargain Books. I know Fred's. Everyone who's ever been broke in this town knows Fred's. The milk crates outside, the smell of basements. Is it good? I said, just to talk. Just started it. She turned the book over. I saw the cover. A small figure on a cold planet with little gold seals of all the awards science fiction gives. Emma lent it to me. She says it's the best thing she's read all year. I'll tell you if she's right. Do that, I said, meaning to leave it there. For about 1 second I did. Then the old feeling started inside me again, the one that had already cost me everything it could. What else does she read? What else does Emma read? Denise tells everybody everything. Just one more sentence and you'd have a little more of her, a little more of the thing you're not allowed to have. I put the book down and went to clean kennels. I did not ask the question. That was new. The hardest ordinary thing I'd done in a year. Standing in a hallway made of cinder blocks and not asking a woman about a book. But I didn't forget. I never forget. I just moved around it the only way I know how. A month ago, if you'd asked me to guess what Emma read, I'd have said serious books with one-word titles or smart romance she'd defend at a party and be right. An editor. All those worn paperbacks. I read people for a living and I'd have bet the house on it. But it was a space opera. A warship with its whole mind inside one stolen human body, crossing a galaxy to fight the empire that broke it. I stood at Denise's desk feeling a small, sharp surprise at being wrong about someone. That almost never happened to me, and when it did, it was always about her. I didn't go to Fred's. Fred's was her place now. I don't know when that rule started, but it was set in stone. If I saw her in the window of a pizzeria, I'd keep walking and never eat there again. That's not a sane way to live, and I knew it. But I did it anyway. I drove to the big bookstore by the mall, the kind of place where no one has ever loved anything. And I did not buy her book. That was the moment I decided. I stood in the science fiction aisle feeling like a man who had just come inside from the rain. Buying her book meant knowing something about her, and I had promised myself I wouldn't learn anything that wasn't given to me. If it had been up to me, I would have bought all 3 of Lecky's books and their sequels, reading them all by Sunday like I usually do. But I didn't buy any of them. Instead, I turned the book over, as you do, and read the back. The back cover gave me a hint of what I might like if I liked this one. It mentioned fans of Ursula K. Le Guin and James S. A. Corey, so I bought their books instead. A slim one by Le Guin about a world where no one is fixed as just one thing. And the first big book in Corey's series. But not her book. Never her book. Just the ones her book pointed me to. I told myself it was different, but I knew it wasn't. It was like a sickness buying a way toward a woman through the small print on the cover, so I could tell myself I never really touched her words. The kid at the register asked if I was getting into science fiction. Trying it out, I said. I read Le Guin's book in 2 nights. It was about a man who learns, too slowly and at a high cost, that the person in front of him is never exactly what he thought. I put the book down at 2 in the morning, feeling like it was speaking directly to me, a feeling I didn't want. Duke got his news on a Tuesday. Emma broke her silence after 5 weeks to tell me herself. 5 weeks. That's how long she stayed away, finding somewhere else to be the moment I came through the door. She did it with a care and sharpness I might have admired if it hadn't been aimed at me. Then Duke had 1 cough too many, and Denise took him to the vet. The vet ran a test, and the result was a word: heartworm. The vet said it could be treated, but the treatment felt more like another illness. Shots that would leave him weak, then 8 weeks of almost total rest, crated and still, no running, no stairs, no fun, while his body worked through something slow and risky. 8 weeks of quiet for a dog who'd been sent back twice before for being too much. Emma told me at the gate of his run. She could have let Denise do it, but she didn't. Nobody adopts that, she said. 7 years old, 2 strikes, and now a strict plan. You know where he ends up. He goes to the back, and he stays there. I turned away. It was the first time in 5 weeks she stood in a doorway without looking for somewhere else to go. "Hi," she said, like it hurt to say it. "Hi," I replied. "I have things to say to you," she said. "But not here, where Denise can hear and Ethan might walk in, and I have to pretend everything's fine afterward." She started to step back. "There's a diner on 4th. I'll go sit there and drink bad coffee. If you come, you come. That's all there is to it. Don't make it a big deal." I came. Of course I came. The diner on 4th has been falling apart for 40 years and can't quite give up. She sat in a back booth with a cup of coffee she didn't drink. She watched me cross the room. She didn't smile or ask me to sit. I sat down. "I looked you up," she said. No hello. "After. You'd expect that. If a man breaks into the one part of your life you keep locked, you find out who he is." "Yes." "You're good at your job. People say that. Some bar group gave you an award." She turned her mug a little on the table. "And your wife died 3 years ago." There was nothing to say to that, so I stayed quiet. "I'm not saying that to excuse you." She said it quickly, like she had practiced it on the way there. "I need you to understand that because I can see your face trying to find meaning in it. There isn't any. A sad man and a decent man aren't the same. And that night, with your little act, you were the sad man, not the decent one. I know. But I couldn't make it fit." She looked at me as carefully as someone looks at shy dogs, trying to figure out how close is safe to come. "The man who did that, and the man who's been sitting on the floor of this shelter for 3 years with dogs no one else wants. I kept trying to put you in one box. But you're not just one thing. Nobody is. I know that better than most." She paused, and something moved across her face, and then closed up again. "So I found the wife," she said. "It didn't make what you did okay, but it helped me see why you were the way you were. A man that alone," she shook her head. "I've been that lonely. Not the same way as you, but I know the feeling." I hadn't planned to say anything true. I thought I'd take what she gave me, thank her, and leave. But when she said she knew the feeling, something I had held on to for 3 years and 4 months, quietly let go. "She was sick for a year," I said. "By the end, I got very good at being alone in a room with someone. It's not a skill you put on a resume. Then she was gone, and I kept the skill. Got better at it. Built a whole life around being alone in a room with someone who wasn't there." Emma didn't move. "I'm not saying this so you feel sorry for me. You asked how a person gets like this. That's how. You practice." She held her cold mug with both hands. "I do a thing at night," she said, "that I can't tell the person I want to tell most. It would hurt him, but I do it anyway because every other choice is worse. So don't think I don't know. Innocent? That's not it. Whatever." She lifted her chin. "I'm not going to tell you what it is." You already know more about it than anyone else alive, which is kind of a strange thing, and neither of us is going to laugh about it. But I wanted you to hear me say I'm not innocent either. That's not me saying I forgive you. It's just me refusing to sit here as the hurt good person while you're the bad one. We're both people who have done things in the dark. That's all this is. The waitress came by and warmed 2 coffees we hadn't touched. Duke's going to live in the back kennel, Emma said. For the first time, her voice didn't seem to reach me but went straight to the dog, and somehow that hit us both. 8 weeks of crate rest no one wants? And then he's the one who's been left too long, the one people stop seeing. And he finally trusts someone. Finally trusts you. She pressed her hand hard against her mouth, then pulled it away. That's the part I can't handle. I thought about my house, the quiet rooms, the yard where no one came near. A crate could fit in the front room, by the window, where the sunlight stretches long on the floor. I didn't say it. It wasn't the right time. I hadn't earned the right to say it yet. Some things you have to do first before you can say them out loud. But it started there in a quiet, fading diner, over coffee we both let go cold. The first thing I'd wanted in 3 years that I was actually going to take with me. We should go, Emma said. We got up and walked to the door. Then she stopped. This means nothing, she said. I need you to hear that. This was just coffee. I still don't know what I want, and some days I don't want anything to do with you. You have to be able to accept that and not push. I can accept that. I know you can. Almost a smile appeared, then was gone. That's half your problem. You can accept anything. What you can't do is live out loud. She pushed the door open into the cold. Work on it. She walked away. I sat back down and ordered a piece of pie I didn't want, just so I could stay a few more minutes in a room she had been in. They started Duke's treatment on Monday, and it did exactly what the vet said it would. The shots went deep into his back muscles, and they hurt. For days after, he stayed in his run, not looking at anyone, a large figure breathing too fast. The trust I had spent a year building with him, the easy way we walked on the leash, was gone somewhere far behind his eyes. And he couldn't run. That was the hard part of the healing. It worked by slowly taking away something inside him, and if his heart worked too hard while it was going, the whole thing could be too much for him. So he had to stay still. 8 weeks of stillness for an animal whose whole broken self was made of movement. You're allowed to sit with them. So I sat. I was sitting on the hard floor, back against the wall, not asking him for anything. After a while, most days, he would slowly come over, rest his head on my leg, and sigh deeply. Then we'd just be quiet together. It was the one thing I was really good at. This is what I thought about there on that floor. Duke was 7 years old. A dog that age, nervous and with a history of health problems, wasn't the kind that people usually picked. If he made it through his treatment, he'd go back to the shelter, and that small space would become his whole world. I had seen that happen before, 3 times in 3 years. People who loved those dogs in short shifts, then left them to go home to other pets. I had a calm house, a yard never used, rooms where no one stayed, and I had a quiet way of just sitting still next to a creature who needed me to stay. I had been preparing for this for 3 years. I just hadn't known it yet. I understood how it might look. A man who lost his partner and didn't cry takes in a dog near the end, and you could write the greeting card from that story so easily. I would have seen right through it if I was a vet with a client like me, but how things look and how they really are 2 different things. I loved the dog. Duke would likely be put down unless someone who knew how to sit still with a dog like him took him home. I was that someone, and I was scared because to love something that won't last is to accept the pain of losing it someday. But I agreed anyway. That was new for me. For 3 years, I had made my life so nothing could be lost, because I never held on to anything. But now, on that shelter floor, I decided to hold on. That night, I told Mia. She was now more like a soft light in the far room, a warmth at the edge of the house. Not much like a person in a chair. I found her and said I was bringing home a dog who might not survive. I know, she said, her voice weaker than before, but full of happiness. A dog. Look at you. It's going to hurt if he doesn't get better. Yes, that's the risk, love. It always is. There was a small smile in the dim light. You just stopped feeling it for a while. Now, feel it again. Getting Mia to accept it was easy. Denise was harder. I went to her with my plan all prepared. which was my first mistake because she could tell when someone was just saying what they thought she wanted to hear. I want to care for Duke while he rests. I work from home most days, my yard is fenced, but he can't use it yet, and my house is quiet. That's what he needs. That's what I have. She put her pen down. She did not look happy. She looked like someone being given something fragile by someone she didn't trust with fragile things. No, she said. Denise, you travel. You leave town on short notice. I've seen you cancel on other dog to do that. A dog who needs rest can't have someone who disappears. Duke needs to see the same face every morning for 8 weeks or he will fall back, and you can't give me the same face. I can. I have 2 people waiting for me to give them the dog. They've waited 3 years already. I already called them. I'm not taking any new dogs this summer. You called them before asking me. No point hiding the truth. I did. She didn't like that. And she had every right to feel that way. And this is grief, she said softly, showing she understood. She turned the same question she used to notice the shelter's money problems on me. For 3 years, I've watched you. You don't take these animals home. You love them here, then leave them here. It has kept you safe. Now one gets sick and suddenly you want to bring him home. That's not caring for a dog. That's trying to fix something for yourself. Her words hit me because half of it was true. The part I needed to say out loud to someone at a desk, which I wouldn't have done 3 months ago. Some of it is that, I said. I won't pretend my house isn't too quiet or that I don't notice it. But you have it wrong. I'm not bringing him home to fix the quiet. The quiet is what he needs, and I'm the only one who can offer him 8 weeks of that. You said it yourself. No one else will adopt that dog. It's not me versus a better home. It's me or the back kennel. Tell me I'm wrong. She couldn't say it. It made her angry. If you want to help Duke, write us a check, she said. You have the money. Help pay for his care. Help pay for the next ones. Put your name on a wall. That's how someone like you helps a shelter. You don't have to bring the animal into your own life to help. There it was. The easy way out I had taken my whole life, using money to make problems disappear so I wouldn't have to face them. I had sent a woman $2,000 without saying one honest thing to her face. I knew that door too well. But I wasn't just someone who walked away. I came ready to argue. I came ready to explain. I didn't come angry, but now I was. Angry at someone else for once. I had done my share. I never passed the tough work at the shelter on to anyone else. I was as serious and dedicated as anyone else there, and I didn't like what she was saying about me. No, I said, my voice low. I'll write the check too for the dogs I can't take home, but not instead. I'm done using money to make problems go away so I don't have to be with them. I want the dog, Denise. I want to be the one who's there every morning. Make me do the paperwork. Make me get the papers you need. Treat me like anyone else who just walked in off the street, and I'll follow every rule. Just don't make me pay my way out of the parts that really matter. That's disrespectful to both me and Duke. She looked at me for a long time. Well, she said, rubbing her face, that's the first honest thing you've said today. She made me do everything the right way. References, a home visit, all the usual adopter papers a volunteer with 3 years might have skipped. I filled out every line. I gave her the names of people I had avoided for years and then had to call, which caused a bit of trouble on its own. She let me foster Duke during his crate rest. If he got through that, and if I hadn't run away, we'd talk about the rest. We both knew she wouldn't give me the usual lecture, but she made me earn the chance. And I was grateful. I didn't tell Emma. That part mattered to me. It had nothing to do with her. Emma had cried about this dog across a diner table, and to bring him home with me would have felt like some kind of message again. I wanted Duke to be only my choice. Nothing more. The morning they said I could bring Duke home was the same day as the shelter's fundraiser. I hadn't planned it that way. It just happened. I set his crate in the front room near the window, where sunlight spilled across the floor. He was still feeling sick from his last shots, moving slowly on stiff legs. He walked around the room twice, then curled into the crate like it was the place he'd been searching for all his life. He sighed and fell asleep. I stood in my house, the way it had been for 3 years, and watched it change. Duke was breathing in the front room, the light resting on his back. I sat with him for a while, gently scratching his ears and softly petting him. When he settled, I read quietly to him from a book. I set water beside his crate, then turned on a playlist of country songs. I'll be back soon, buddy. I put on a shelter shirt and drove away, leaving him to rest. It's the strangest feeling to say you're leaving a dog to get used to a new home. Then I went to the loudest place I knew. The shelter has more space than I ever thought. I used to see just the back runs and the gravel parking lot. But on a Saturday in June, with the help of a nearby business letting them use their lot and part of their fence, it turned into a whole field. Someone had strung flags across it. A flatbed truck was set up as a stage near the trees. Folding tables were spread out, with a bounce house and a raffle tent. 200 people had come on a bright day to show they cared. Denise was speaking into a microphone by the raffle tent, but by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, she had almost lost her voice. "That's ticket," she said in a rough voice. "That is ticket 419. 419, come claim your smoker. I am not taking it back inside." The big smoker sat there, still unclaimed. Nearby, a dog that was supposed to be in a pen was nowhere to be seen. I watched as Pilot ran across the whole field happily, with 2 teenagers chasing him and a leash trailing behind. I realized the count was going up for our little escape artist dog. There was a taco stand busy with customers, more than any usual charity food stand should be. The sign said, "Mookie's House of Tacos," with a cartoon of a smiling, shaggy dog under the words. Mookie himself stood behind the table. Everyone had a story about him, though none were quite suitable for sharing. He was handing a foil-wrapped taco to a nun. His real dog, the one like in the logo, rested in the shade by the table, calm and peaceful. A small sign beside jars of salsa read, "Jerry's Custom Salsa, from mild to spicy, all money going to help dogs." "Brother," Mookie said to me, using the voice he uses for everything, "that green one will make your afternoon better. Today's the second time something's improved, and the first one had 4 legs." He looked at my shirt. "You're one of the dog people. Good. Dog people eat free." He gave me a taco I hadn't asked for and didn't have to pay for, then turned to serve the next person. I ate the taco standing at the edge of the crowd. It was very good, and for a moment I was just a man at a fair. Liz found me there, of course. Liz finds everyone. "You came," she said, but she didn't boast, which, coming from Liz, was like a huge kindness. Behind her was Scott, carrying 2 plates and looking like a calm, strong man who had learned to carry things while his wife talked to people. She looked at me like I was a witness she wasn't sure about yet. "You look better than you did at the office, and worse. Interesting." Then she let it go because her way of being kind was to move on quickly. She led Scott toward Mary Ann, who was standing by the silent auction table wearing a hat that probably cost more than the smoker prize. Across the field, I spotted Emma, running the volunteer table with a clipboard and whistle around her neck. She saw me too, but we both pretended not to notice. We stayed in the quiet space that coffee had put us in, not quite talking, not quite silent. She lifted her chin just a bit. I did the same. That was our small agreement, and it held true. At 2 o'clock, the music started. The Poplins stepped onto the flatbed stage like they had done it many times before, which they had. Ethan Sr. played the fiddle, calm and steady with gray hair. 2 boys, one my biscuit-loving kid and a younger boy, played the washboard, jug, and drum. Gus stood to the side with a trumpet and a laptop. When the first song started, a screen behind them lit up with his animation. It showed a bunch of stick figures moving to the music. The crowd made a sound that people make when something is way better than expected. Then Shannon stepped up with her fiddle, and it stopped feeling like a fun trick. I couldn't find the right words to describe what she did. I understand people more than music. But sometimes, something special happens. A person becomes so connected to what they're doing that everyone else goes quiet. It happened here, on a flatbed truck in a field, near a smoker that no one had claimed yet. Kids stopped playing, dogs stopped moving. She stepped up to the microphone and said a few words. She told us the next song was an old Rush song that she and her dad had changed for the violin. Then she closed her eyes and played. The song was called Losing It. It was about losing what makes you who you are. The feeling in the music rose and rose. During that long climb, I stood in the sun with a crushed taco wrapper in my hand. Suddenly, 3 years and 4 months of memory hit me hard and caught me by surprise. I decided I didn't need to understand why. The music just went where it needed to go. It reached a closed-off part of me and quietly stood there without asking. I made it through the song. I'm good at making it through things. Then Ethan took the microphone from his sister. He was 20, rough around the edges, and didn't know how much he was about to affect me. "Hey, hi, I'm Ethan. That's my family. Give my sister money. She's the talented one. And whoever won that smoker, go claim it fast. It's a Shirley Fab rig, and I might try to connect it to my Volkswagen." The crowd laughed. He was good at this in that honest, natural way young people often are, by not even trying. Okay, quick story about why this place matters. Last summer I lost my dog, Captain Thor. I'd had him since I was a kid. Best dog ever. Losing him nearly broke me. He scratched his neck. I didn't want to get another one because I didn't want to go through that again. So instead I started coming here to volunteer, and I figured out a trick. It's a good trick. The trick is you come to a place like this and get to love about 40 dogs at once, and you never have to be the one who takes care of them at the end. The crowd laughed, warm and soft, because what he said was funny but also sweet. Except it's not a good trick, Ethan said with a small smile. And here's why you should give us your money. These dogs don't need 40 people loving them just a little on Saturdays. They need one person who will take them home, let them chew the couch, spend a lot on the vet, and love them fully for about 12 years, and maybe get their heart broken in the end. That's the good ending, not the safe one. The one where it breaks you because when you feel broken, you know it was real. They are worth it. I read somewhere that we don't deserve dogs. They are always loyal. Having a bad day, they still love you. Forget about them for a little while, they still love you. Feeling sad? Lonely? Want someone close? They love you. He shrugged like a kid again. Anyway, there's a jar. Fill it up if you can. Then the music started again, loud and happy, and 200 people cheered and reached for their wallets. I turned and walked away from the crowd because I couldn't stand being there one more second. I made it to the fence at the quiet end, past the runs, where the flags stopped and the field turned back into open land. I touched the chain-link fence. I was ready to leave. I had my keys in my hand, a clear path to the parking lot, and every plan to go home to my dog and my locked rooms. But I couldn't make my legs move, because the kid had said it. In front of a smoker, a nun, and the whole bright town, a 20-year-old had stood up and spoke exactly about the life I had been living. Loving many things a little so I'd never have to lose one forever. The pool, the straight lines, the shelter I had come to for 3 years and never once took a dog home. The chair by the window and the woman in it I could talk to forever because she couldn't ever leave, because she had already left. I had built the safest kind of love from the pieces of the only real one. 40 dogs on a Saturday, never the one I held the leash for in the end. That morning, I had put a crate by the window. At 32, I had finally chosen to let myself feel broken. I sat on the grass, my back against the fence. I didn't make a sound. I got low, like you do, like I had done for 3 years. I sat at the edge of the loudest party in town and shook quietly. I didn't let anyone see. Emma saw. Somehow, across the whole field, she noticed before I thought it was possible. She wasn't close, just about 10 feet away. She didn't come near or call my name. She stopped where she was and turned halfway toward the field, like a woman watching the weather. She stayed there, quiet and not pushing, like when you stay still for a dog that thinks you're a threat. I felt her there. She let me feel her without doing more. And it was the kindest thing anyone had done for me in a long time. We might have stayed like that. I think she would have stayed until I was ready to get up. But then a small girl appeared at the end of the runs. She was about 9, serious as could be, wearing a shelter volunteer shirt 3 sizes too big and tied at the hip. She looked at me on the grass. She looked at the logo on my shirt, and then she made a decision. You work here. It wasn't a question. At the shelter. I could tell because of the shirt. I wiped my face quickly with the back of my wrist and tried to speak. I do. Kind of. I volunteer. Then you probably know Russ. She sat down, right there on the grass in front of me, legs crossed like we were about to have an important talk. He was here. In the 3rd row. He has 1 blue eye and 1 brown eye. He's part Australian Shepherd and part something else no one knows. A family gave him back because they couldn't handle how full of energy he was. Which is silly, because his energy is the best thing about him. I might know Russ, I said. We got him, she said, like it was the most important news ever. In December, I named him Russ. It's from a book, but I'm not telling you why yet. At first, he was really bad. He chewed the corner of the couch and wasn't trained, even though they said he was. My dad got frustrated, but he never raised his voice. Now Russ is perfect. He sleeps on my bed, at the bottom, by my feet. And in the morning, he comes up and puts his whole head on the pillow like a person. She stopped to catch her breath. I keep a notebook about him, his commands and everything. I have spent my whole working life keeping a calm face, focusing on what I need to, while feeling strong things inside. I never needed this skill more than I did sitting on the grass with her. She was telling me, this careful little girl who didn't know I was broken inside, that they had taken home the dog nobody else wanted, the one that was giving up hope, the one that was too much for others. He chewed their couch, cost them trouble, slept at her feet, and now was perfect. Her dad got upset but never yelled and kept trying. Love is worth it, even when it's hard. She didn't say that. She only said Russ put his head on the pillow like a person. She had no idea how much that meant. That sounds, I said, stopping myself and starting over carefully. That sounds like a really good dog, and it sounds like you're really good to him. That's everything, you know, that you're good to him. She thought about it and nodded. He was scared when we got him, she said. Now he's not. Then, because she was 9 and full of care, and I was the person in front of her, she quickly stood up and wrapped both arms around my neck, strong and fast, the way kids hug, without asking, without thinking about what it might do to someone else's day. I felt stiff. I hadn't been touched in 3 years. Not once. Not even by someone I talked to every night. And the first arms that reached me were those of a 9-year-old by a fence. I didn't know how to handle it. I raised one hand and patted her back twice, clumsily, feeling awkward and unsure. It was the best thing I did all day. The only real honest thing, too. I saw Emma over my shoulder. She had turned back around. She was watching us with a look I had never seen on her before. It was a mix of worry and something else. Her body leaned forward a little, like someone standing at the edge of a pool, unsure whether to jump in. She didn't know how this would end. She could see I was barely holding on, and there was a child in my arms talking about a dog that had been saved. I saw her struggle inside, trying to decide if she should come closer, if she was allowed to, if coming over meant breaking the promise she had made earlier, the one she said not to break for a long time, maybe not ever, but she came over anyway. "Hey," she said as she crouched down next to the girl. Her voice was soft and warm, full of kindness. "You're doing me a big favor, okay? I'm so thirsty and I can't leave my seat. There's a cooler by the taco truck with water. Could you get me one? The coldest ones are at the bottom." The girl quickly stepped away from me. She felt important, like she had a job to do. "Okay. Do you want a certain kind?" "The coldest you can find. You're a lifesaver." And just like that, she was off, running across the field like a small messenger with an important task. It was done gently and kindly. The child felt proud, not pushed away. I got a moment to breathe. Emma didn't touch me once. She didn't stay there long. She stood up, gave a little space between us, the careful kind of space. Then she looked away toward the field, not at me, while I tried to calm my face. "You stayed," she said. Just 2 words, not a question, and not really forgiveness. Just a fact she had seen happen and decided to say out loud. I stayed at the party when I wanted to leave. I stayed in the grass with the child when I had nothing left to give. But I gave her something anyway. "I stayed," I said. She nodded, still looking out at the field. The band was playing behind us, the whole loud, happy world moving on. "Is Duke home?" she asked. She already knew. Of course she knew. Denise tells everyone everything. "Since this morning." "Good." Her jaw tightened for a moment, then relaxed. "That's good, Seth." The girl came running back across the field, holding a cold water like a prize. Emma met her halfway and thanked her like she was the most important person in the world. Emma didn't look back at me, and that was right. It was all the day had to offer. I stayed by the fence a while longer, on the edge of all that noise. For the first time in 3 years, I let the noise feel safe instead of a place to hide. I didn't once want to disappear. Denise's voice didn't come back for a week, which meant the most important days that Shelter had seen in a long time ran on a tired voice and lots of gestures. I came back the Tuesday after. She was at the front desk with 2 volunteers. A bank bag sat nearby, and every donation jar in the building was lined up like trophies. The whiteboard that used to track pilots' escapes had been wiped clean. Now, it showed the total amount raised. Counting took days. You couldn't just dump a pile of crumpled bills, taco money, and auction promises into a spreadsheet on a Sunday and think it was done. "Where are you?" I asked, nodding at the board. She wrote a number on a sticky note and slid it over. Talking was too much for her right then. Then she wrote a second number below it, the amount they needed just to keep the lights on and the furnace running through winter, and tapped the 2 numbers side by side. She raised her eyebrows at me. The first number was bigger, not just a little bit. "You're okay," I said, relief sounding almost silly. "You're actually okay." She nodded. Her eyes did something, and then she looked away. She blew her nose and pointed hard at the jars like they had done something important. In a way, they had. The town had come through. That was the simple truth. I kept thinking about it because for 3 years, I might have told you a town was just a place you lived near, not a thing that could show up when needed. 200 people had emptied their pockets into jars for a small building full of dogs they would never take home. The tacos alone, Mookie told me later with a serious face and a joint tucked behind his ear like a pencil, had raised $4,000. He had given the ingredients himself, so it was $4,000 pure. Jerry moved product, he said, patting the dog. Jerry always moves product. But it wasn't the jars that made the first number bigger than the second. It was 3 checks. Emma told me because Denise couldn't. She leaned against the far end of the desk, careful. I knew we were picking how close we could stand now, inch by inch. 3 people wrote checks that weren't normal, she said. Want to guess? Liz Armagito. Of course, Liz. She wrote one and then stood on a chair and told everyone she'd match whatever was put in the jars by the end of the day. Classic Liz. She knew that would turn every $10 bill into 20. She almost smiled. Her sister wrote one, too. A big one. Written so bold you could see it from far away. She shrugged. Takes all kinds. The money's the same. That's 2. The third one was the one nobody expected. She turned one of the jars slowly, like she was deciding how much to say. You know the old Callaway place out past the industrial park? Someone's living there now. A woman, some kind of money, and a little girl. She looked at me. The girl who came and told you all about her dog. The one with the 2 colored eyes. Russ. I kept my face calm. They adopted him last December, Emma said. Honestly, he was the worst case in the building. No one wanted him, time was running out, and this kid picked him like he was the only dog on earth. And the woman outside decided that the shelter that gave that kid the dog was worth about half of what it takes to fix a furnace. She shook her head, and her voice turned a little rough. She made the donation in honor of someone else, but she wrote it in the dog's name. For Russ. For a while, neither of us said anything. There was no easy thing to say. A dog no one wanted found a home with a girl. Then that girl's family made sure the shelter would still be there for the next dog no one wanted. It was the whole reason to have a shelter, all happening by chance, with no one planning it. Denise wants to spend it all on the furnace and the roof, Emma said. Fix the urgent problems and then be broke again by spring. That's the wrong choice. I know it is. Tell her. She won't listen to me. Later, I did. I sat on the edge of the desk with a legal pad while Denise stared at me. This was the one part of me that had never helped the dogs before, but now it was useful. You don't fix the furnace with a sudden donation. You fix it with this year's money. The donation should go into a savings fund, a small reserve, with some donors you call more than once a year. I drew it out for her. Denise looked at the paper and then at me. She said quietly, "Where were you 3 years ago?" "I was hiding in your back kennels," I said, and she laughed, a rough laugh that hurt her throat. That made her mad, and that made me laugh. Before I left, I wrote a check, too. Not trying to be a hero. I won't tell you the amount. I had finally learned that some men use big numbers to make themselves feel better. I wrote the check, dropped it in the jar like everyone else, and stayed to help count. Emma walked me to the parking lot, even though she didn't have to. "Duke," she said, "how's the stillness going?" "He hates it. He's supposed to hate it. 8 weeks of telling a dog who wants to run that he can't." I stopped at the car. "I sit on the floor with him a lot. Turns out I'm good at it." She looked at me for a moment. The same look she had at the diner, but now it was a little different. "That's the thing I didn't understand about you," she said. "At first, you do the worst possible thing, the thing with the wall. Then you go home and sit on a floor for 8 weeks so a dog no one wanted doesn't have to be scared alone. And both of those are you." She pulled out her keys. "I'm not saying it makes sense. It doesn't. I just stopped needing it." It wasn't forgiveness. She would have told me off if I had called it that, but it was like a door left open, and after everything I'd done, I knew better than to touch it. "Thanks for the water thing," I said. "At the benefit, with the kid." "You looked like you were about to break down in front of a 9-year-old. "I was." "I know." She got in her car. "But you didn't, though. That's twice now you didn't do what I expected." She closed the door and rolled the window down a little. "Go home to your dog, Seth." I went home to my dog. He was right where I left him, in his crate by the window. He lifted his head when I opened the door and gave 2 soft tail thumps on the pad. For a sick dog who had to rest all the time, that was a big cheer. I got down on the floor. That's where I spent most of that summer, on the floor by the crate, staying still for something that needed me. Mia was there too. Fainter every week now, more a warmth in the old chair than a clear shape. But she was there. The shelter made it, I told her. I heard, she said softly, our old joke because she always heard everything. The words felt far but gentle. Look at all of it. The dog, the town, the girl with the water. There was a pause I could feel more than hear. You're back in the world, love. I can barely see you inside here anymore. I put my hand on the crate wire, and Duke pressed his big square head against it, warm through the gaps. I sat on the floor of a house that was finally starting to change, and I let myself be seen. Duke was how it all began. That made sense because Duke was how everything that summer began. She sent me a message the week after the benefit. The first one she'd ever sent that wasn't about work. How's the patient? I sent back a picture of him asleep on his side, all four legs stretched out like a switched-off dog. She replied, I want to see him. And that was it. She came over on a Thursday and sat on my living room floor. Emma seemed at ease in the soft light with Duke's head in her lap. She was gentle with him, using that calm voice, and I forgot to feel nervous about a woman being in my house for the first time in 3 years. She didn't look around much, didn't stare at the photos I still hadn't taken down. Emma sat quietly, letting the dog be the reason for being there. When she left, she said, Same time next week? As if it was all about Duke, and we both let it be about Duke as long as we needed. But by the third Thursday, it stopped being just about Duke. One evening, she brought her work. A manuscript, marked pages, cheap glasses. Duke was asleep between us, and she said, Do you mind if I get an hour in? I'm behind. I said no. She put on her glasses, uncapped a red pen, and bent over the pages. Then her face changed, like it always did when she was deep in thought. The thing I had taken, the quiet look she gave when a sentence caught her attention, the one I had seen through a wall I once broke, alone and in the dark. A man at a window when he shouldn't have been there. And now here she was, sitting across from me at my own coffee table, lit by a lamp, because she chose to work in the same room with me. She quietly muttered at a paragraph. Something was crossed out with calm satisfaction. Emma read a bad line to me, laughed, and said it was awful. I agreed. I had once taken that look from her. Now she was giving it to me. I stayed very still on my couch so she would not see what it did to me. She shared the rest like that, bit by bit, the opposite of how I had once taken it. She took me to a small, quiet sports bar early on a Saturday morning to watch a team I didn't know lose to another I hadn't heard of. She came alive in a way I had only seen on screens, standing up and shouting at the TV in a room full of strangers who called her by name. Later, she took me to a bookstore in a neighboring town. I watched her wait in line to have a book signed and quietly say something to the author that made the author stop and really look at her. All the things I had guessed through quick looks, she simply showed me in daylight. She let me be part of her real life. Then there was Ben. She told me about him before I met him. I understood this was both a test and a kindness. He's 20. He thinks I'm a freelance editor, she said as we sat on my floor with Duke between us, a safe spot we both knew. Which isn't a lie. It's just not the part that pays. The part that pays is what you already know, the part I hate that you know. And no, we aren't going to talk about it. She picked at the rug. Our mom couldn't send either of us to school. I worked to get myself through. Ben still has 2 years left, and I won't let him end up where I did. So I do the other work at night. He thinks his big sister edits books for a living, and he's proud of me, and I let it be that way. Because if he ever finds out what I really do to keep him in school, he'll quit out of guilt and throw away his chance. Her jaw clenched. So I lied to the person I love most in the world. I sat there, a man who had talked to his late wife for 3 years to keep from feeling something too painful. I know a little about that, I said. I know you do, she replied, looking at me. That's also why I'm still here. You're the only living person who knows both my secrets, and you didn't run from either one. There was a pause. You did break into one of them, she said, and I'm still mad about it. I will be, probably forever. But you didn't run. Meeting Ben after that was the hardest easy thing I had done. He was tall and lanky, always smiling, and he called me sir until I asked him to stop. He talked for 20 minutes straight about a video game. Then suddenly he told me his sister was the smartest person he knew. She had given up a lot for him, and did I know she edited real published books? I said yes. I said she was amazing. Across the room, I saw Emma hear me say this and turn away. and I started saying yes more often. That was what surprised the people who had known me longest. Marcus sent me a message about something at his place, the same kind and easy message he had sent for years with no reply. This time, I wrote back, "What should I bring?" There was a pause, long enough for me to know I had caught him off guard. Then he sent a long line of excited exclamation marks. I went. I sat in Marcus and Dana's kitchen, and they were happy to see me. It felt awkward and big, but also okay. Liz gave me a strong hug and showed me off like I was a prize she'd finally found. I went to a recital. I went to other things. I stopped protecting a life that was over and started being part of the one that kept going. That fall, Emma took me to a veterans event at a local hall because her family's band, the Poplins, was playing. She thought I would come if I could stay quiet and out of the way. The band was well known and everyone there loved them. The Poplins played at places like that all the time, veteran halls, old people's homes. Half the crowd had seen them many times but still cheered every time. When the fiddle tune began, a warm feeling spread through the room. It was a father and daughter playing together. It had been their story for almost 20 years. Ethan played the devil, and Shannon was the bold fiddle player. But in their version, the kid who wins wasn't Johnny, it was Joni, a change they made when she was a little girl. Gus added a quiet and serious trumpet sound as the devil came in. Then the two of them faced off. Fiddle against fiddle, father against daughter, the contest they had practiced for years. She won, of course. Joni always wins. That was the point of the song and the whole tradition. After she won, Ethan played along doing the usual move that got everyone smiling. He took an old golden fiddle off a hay bale, a worn project he had painted gold years ago, and laid it at his daughter's feet. The devil, stepping back and giving in. You could see on his face that losing to her was the best part of his week, maybe even his whole year. A man who got to lose to his daughter in front of the whole town, on purpose, every time. I stood there, leaning on Emma's shoulder, waiting for the old hurt to arrive. The last time I heard Shannon play was at the shelter fundraiser. Her fiddle touched a part of me I usually kept closed off. Her version of Losing It by Rush, all about loss, hit me hard. I had to hold on to a taco wrapper and breathe through the pain I had never allowed myself to feel for more than 3 years. I was ready for it to happen again. That's an old habit you don't lose quickly. But it didn't come. The music was beautiful. 20 years of a father and daughter loving each other had turned into a lively fiddle competition, and I stood in the hall, enjoying it just like anyone else. Nothing stirred inside me. It just made me happy. I didn't say a word to Emma about it. Some feelings you measure alone. When the song ended, Ethan Jr. took the microphone to talk to the crowd. Calm and confident at 20. He spoke about the hall and the repairs they were raising money for, about the men wearing hats in the front row. The young man was good at this, natural. But I wasn't listening to the speech. I was watching a girl in the second row, a college student, clapping and looking at Ethan the whole time. And the way Ethan glanced back quickly, like checking a direction. "He's moved on," I said quietly to Emma. She looked where I was looking. "Since March," she said. "Bianca. She goes to the community college." She nudged my shoulder. "You couldn't just watch the show. You had to read the room." "I'm reading One Girl." "You read the whole thing from one girl before he even spoke." On stage, Ethan leaned into the microphone. "I want to dedicate this next song to someone special who's here tonight," he said, and his ears turned pink. The girl in the second row covered her face with her hands, and the band began a warm, soft tune. Emma laughed. "There it is." I watched a young man who once told me it was just nice, now talking to someone who responded to him like a real person. I watched him stand in front of the room full of strangers and say it plainly, to a girl his age who lit up like a bright window. He figured it out faster than I did. Most people do. Emma slipped her hand into mine in the dark hall. No fuss. Just something we could do because we were both there. Both real. I held her hand. I watched a family play music and a boy show his feelings openly, and I didn't wish to be anywhere else. It wasn't simple, though. The quiet struggle still happened at night. It didn't stop just because I was a part of her life now. If anything, it felt like an object between us that we carefully avoided. Ben still had 2 years left, and Emma kept a date in her mind. The day the last tuition check cleared, and she could finally close that door and be only the other thing. She had built all her freedom around that date, and I wasn't part of that plan. Something good had happened in the middle of someone else's plan, but neither of us ever spoke about how fragile something good can be when it arrives unplanned. Mia was almost gone by then. I could feel her warmth at the edge of a room and turned to see less of her every time, like an old photo left too long in the sunlight. She never seemed sad about it. She wanted exactly this: a dog on the floor, a woman with a red pen, a man saying yes to a kitchen full of old friends. I was finally living out loud, and living was using her up, but she would have told you it was the best exchange she ever made. She was moving toward something else. I could sense it, like feeling a storm coming. But that time was still ahead of me. That summer, for a short time, I got to be a real person in the world. A dog, a woman, a table with two people sitting at it. I was happy. In a house that had started to change, I was finally living, not just holding my breath. One Tuesday, I came back from Emma's, and the house felt nearly empty of her. Duke met me at the door, or as much as a dog on crate rest could, his tail wagging and a little excited wiggle, even if he wasn't supposed to move much yet. There were dishes in the sink, a red pen on the coffee table where Emma had left it, and a soccer scarf over the back of a chair, not mine and never Mia's. The house had things again. It had changed, just like she had always said it would, and Mia was nearly gone. I had felt her slipping for weeks. She was more of a warmth now, a quiet presence at the edge of the room, not the full person she had once been. That night, when I came in, she was sitting in her chair wearing a gray cardigan. For a moment, she was clear, brighter than she had been in months, like a candle burning bright before it goes out. "There you are," she said. "Sit down, love. It's time." I sat, knowing exactly what she meant, but knowing didn't make it any easier. "I don't want this," I said. "I know. You never do. That's one of the best things about you, and it almost harmed you." She looked around the room, the dishes, the pen, the dog. "But look at it. Look at what you did. There's a scarf on my chair that belongs to a woman who loves soccer. There's a dog who's not allowed on the couch now, but will be by August. You let the house change. You told me to. For 3 years I sat here and told you to." Her voice dropped low. "Do you know why I couldn't leave until now?" "No. Because you weren't keeping me from love. Not really. You kept me the way people keep a room after someone is gone. Same sheets, same cup by the sink. You froze the whole house around me and called it loyalty." No anger in her voice, only truth. "It wasn't loyalty, Seth. It was grief that wore good manners. You were mourning me. You weren't honoring me. And you couldn't tell the difference. Because to tell it meant letting me really be gone. Then how do you want me to honor you? This." She looked around the room. The dishes, the dog, the woman with the pen. You out in the world, a person I got to love. She smiled gently. "That's how you keep me. Not like a statue or something frozen. Like a life you once had. I never wanted to be the thing you built your whole world around trying not to lose. I wanted to be a good chapter. Chapters end. That's what makes them worth reading." I looked down at my hands. "I'm scared she'll leave," I said softly. "Emma." The thing I hadn't said out loud before. Mia never lied to me. Not once, not even now. And that's not the point. Listen carefully, because this is the last useful thing I can say. I'm not going so you can have Emma. If Emma leaves, you keep living anyway. Living is yours. It's not hers to give or take away. I'm giving it to you tonight. Don't turn around and pass it on to someone else, making her just another shadow in your life. I don't know if I can do this without you here. You can. You've done it for months. You just kept coming home to see if I was still there." She tilted her head like she used to. "I've been like a nightlight, love. You don't need a nightlight anymore. You have a whole house filled with light." I forced myself to ask the question I'd never been able to before. "What were you? Really? I still don't know." "You still don't need to." She spoke gently. "Your wife, or you, or both of us, or the last kind thing a broken man could build so he wouldn't fall apart all at once. Choose whatever you can live with. None of that changes what matters, that I loved you. I did. No matter how it worked, that was real. Hold on to that. Let the rest go." Then the thing I had spent 3 years not thinking about came rushing in. I wanted to hold her. We had never touched, not once in 3 years, and now I understood we never could have. There would be no last embrace. No hand to hold as she left. We had loved each other from across the room the whole time. We would end that way, too. "I know. she said, watching me realize it. Me too. It's the one thing I'd change. Her smile was soft and sad, whatever she had become by then. But you can't hold on to something you've already let go of. That's the whole point of letting go, so go on. Live so fully I'd be jealous. Love that strong woman if she'll have you, and someone else if she won't. Let the dog stay on the couch. She paused. And Seth. Yeah. Thank you for finally letting me leave. It's the kindest thing you ever did for me. The lamp didn't blink. Nothing broke. She just slowly became less, then less than that, until the chair was just a chair again. The room became quiet in the normal way rooms do, no longer holding its breath like it had for 3 years and 4 months. She was gone. I sat there for a long time. Duke came over even though he wasn't supposed to. I let him. He rested his big square head on my knee and sighed. I put my hand on his warm head and cried in my own living room for my wife. She had been gone for 3 years. That night I finally accepted it. After a while, I stood up because the dishes were still waiting and someone had to do them. The house was just a house now. A pen on the table, a scarf that still smelled like a person who was alive, a dog needing his evening pills, and me, living alone. But in the usual way, people live alone, not truly alone anymore. Duke got the okay from the vet in September. The vet listened carefully to his chest and then said the word clear. I had to sit down on the small bench in the room. Duke was going to live. The dog that no one wanted, the one almost forgotten at the shelter, was going to grow old on my couch. He had claimed it in August, just as Mia said he would. Emma was with me that day. She had been showing up more and more during that summer. A scarf left on a chair, a toothbrush staying in the bathroom. Soccer games watched at odd hours with her feet in my lap. It was the best I had felt in a long time, and I knew it when it was happening. People say you rarely see those moments clearly as they happen, so maybe I should have seen what was coming. I'm usually good at understanding people, but not the ones I love. The wanting gets in the way, like always. She told me on a Sunday. We were sitting on the floor with the dog, just like when it all started. She was quiet in a way that didn't feel like her usual quiet. Then she said, I have to tell you something. Please let me say it all before you answer. Can you do that? I said yes. I'm going to end this, she said. Us. And I need you to understand why. Because the why is everything. If you don't understand, you'll carry the wrong feeling with you for years, and I've seen how long you carry things. I paused, feeling this new weight. Trying to keep calm, I said, okay. I'm falling in love with you. That isn't the problem. That's the reason. She kept looking at the dog. I have 2 years left with this thing at night. 2 years at least, until Ben is done and I can close that door and not open it again. I'm not going to spend those 2 years only partly here with you. Partly here, partly somewhere else, giving my love to only part of someone. I began to say her name. You said I could finish, she reminded me. So I stayed quiet while she said the last part. When I'm done, she said, when it's all over, and I'm just the editor and the soccer fan and Ben's sister and nothing more, I want to start fresh. I don't want the best thing in my life to come from the worst thing. And I can't start fresh with you because you are part of the life I'm trying to leave behind. You found me in it. No matter how good you've been since, part of you will always be looking at that past time. I can't build a future with someone still tied to the past. Not while I'm still part of it. That's not all of it, though, she finally said, looking at me. There's the part about you. You would wait. I know you would. You'd stay stuck in this half place for 2 years. Quiet and patient, just waiting in a gray, in-between space. You'd tell yourself it's okay. And you'd build your whole life around waiting for me, just like you do with other things. Her jaw tightened. I don't know what came before me. You never told me, and I never asked, but I know a man who plans his life around loss when I see one. I won't be the next thing you hold on to stop moving forward. I love you too much to be the reason you stop living. I wanted to argue. I'm good at arguing. I read people for a living, and I could have found a way to make it sound reasonable. I could have said we had 2 more years, a version where we made it work. The words were ready to come out. But I didn't say them. Because the last time I decided I knew better than Emma about what she needed, I made a big mistake. I broke her trust. I had promised I would never do that again. This was the same thing, just wrapped up differently. She told me what she needed. The only right thing I could do was to give it to her, even if it felt like everything was falling apart. Okay, I said. She wasn't ready for that. I saw it in her face. "Okay?" she asked. "You told me what you need. I'm not going to be another man who thinks he knows better." My voice wavered. "I hate it. I want to argue with every word. But you're right. I'd rather lose you honestly than keep you by pushing you away from your own life. So, okay." Then she cried. She hadn't cried while she was talking. I think she expected me to make it hard, and instead, I made it easy. It hurt her in a different way. I held her, fully, like we had never managed before. When she was done and let go, I let go too. I didn't hold on. That was what I had to give her, and I gave it. She left on a bright, normal Sunday. She kissed me goodbye at the door. She gave Duke a scratch behind the ears and called him a fake one last time. Then she said, "Go live. Don't sit around waiting for me. And don't make me another thing you build your life around not losing. I have a feeling you're really good at that." "I'm working on it," I answered. "I know you are." She gave a small, tired smile. "That's why I can do this." Then she was gone. For the first time in a long, strange year, the house was empty. No one was in the chair to talk to about it. Not Mia, not Emma. That was the point. I understood it later. That's why Mia went first. If she had still been in that chair, I would have gone to her. She would have helped me get through it. But then I would have learned nothing, except that I could survive anything as long as I had a ghost to survive it with. She left, so this pain would be mine alone. Just mine. A sadness with no one close by to pass it to. So, I had to carry it on my own. I want to say I fell apart. Went back to the pool early in the morning to disappear. Made the whole house cold and quiet. That's the story I might have told myself a year before. But I didn't. I cried. I let Marcus take me to a crowded sports bar where neither of us said much, but somehow it helped. I kept going to the shelter. I let the dog on the couch, because Mia had said to, because the dog had earned it, and because the house could now be a place where real life happened. I swam in the mornings, but I counted my laps and got out when I was done. The water was just water. I stayed in the world. That was the hardest thing I have ever done, and I did it standing up, because a woman I had built in my mind out of grief had spent 3 years teaching me how, so that a real woman could break my heart and not take my life with her. 2 years is a long time. Mia had said, "Don't wait," and I did not wait. Not the old way, not the frozen way. But I won't lie and say I carried the scarf down to the lost and found. It stayed on that chair, not as a shrine, but as a maybe. There is a difference, and it took a dead woman and a living one to help me understand that. The house is loud now. That's the first thing anyone who knew it before would notice. There's a dog who isn't allowed on the couch, but lives there anyway, gray around the muzzle, snoring like he has a complaint. The TV gets left on more often. Some nights, people come over. Marcus and Dana with their kids, Liz talking about work over a glass of wine she never finishes. The rooms stopped feeling like a museum. Things move around. Objects get left out or put back the wrong way. It is a place where life happens. That is the simplest kind of miracle I know, and I don't take it for granted because I remember what it cost. I still swim. 5:30 in the morning, 6 days a week, same lane, same black line, but I count the laps and get out when I'm done. Somewhere in these last 2 years, the water stopped being a place to hide. It became exercise again, not a place to disappear into. I would have told you once that the difference was small. It is not small. It is everything, and now I say yes. That is the part the old crowd still cannot believe. I go to ball games and recitals and the loud poplin benefit every June. The shelter raises all the money it needs in one afternoon. Denise still loses her voice by 2, and Pilot, an old dog himself these days, still escapes once, just for old time's sake. I sit in kitchens full of people who knew me when I was lost in my own life, and I let them be happy I'm not like that anymore. Liz deserves much of the credit. I let her have it. She earned some of it. The shelter is doing well. Better than well. The small place I pushed Denise to build made it through 2 winters and a heater that finally stopped working for good. The shelter, which was almost closing 9 months ago, will outlast all of us. It does one thing well. It takes in those nobody else wants and gives them to someone who will be broken but thankful in time. There's a girl at the old Callaway place with a red gold dog and 2 different colored eyes who could tell you all about that. She still comes to the fundraisers every year. She corners anyone wearing a shelter shirt and tells the full story of that dog, whether they want to hear it or not. I always want to hear it. I should tell you about the scarf since I said it stayed on the chair. It did for a while. Then one day, about a year in, I picked it up, folded it, and put it in a drawer. I kept it, but stopped treating it like something sacred. And I finally understood what Mia and Emma had spent years teaching me from opposite sides. I stopped waiting. Not stopped hoping, but stopped waiting. The difference between those two is as big as a life. I built a life that was good on its own, one I could live with if no one ever knocked on the door. You have to really mean that part. I meant it. The door did knock. It was a Tuesday in spring. It always is, with the things that mattered most to me. I had Duke's leash in one hand and one shoe on, halfway out to the car for the shelter, when I opened the door, already turned toward the driveway. Emma was standing on the step. 2 years had done something good to her. She looked less worn out than I had ever seen her before, even on a screen. She had a box under one arm, the kind you carry when you're taking the last of something with you. I learned later it was her editing samples, the last batch she sent to schools because she got the job, the teaching job, the real dream under the other dream. Ben had graduated in December. She made the last payment in January. She closed the door she had been walking toward for 6 years, and then she drove straight to mine. She didn't say any of this yet. She just stood there with her box and her chin held steady, like she still thought a wall might be in front of her. "You said if there was an after?" she said. The old me would have stayed in the doorway, stayed inside, safe, and let her come to me, taken what she gave, like a man being handed something he wasn't sure he deserved. For 3 years, I loved a woman from inside a doorway and never once moved toward her. I dropped the leash. I stepped out of the house into the fresh air, and I closed the distance myself. Because I had learned something important from everything. You have to cross the room. You have to be the one to reach out. No one can love you while standing behind a door. "There is a next part," I said. I took the box from her hands and put it down on the step. Then, I put my arms around her completely, the way you can only do with someone who is real, someone who can hold you back. She did. She stepped back just enough to look at me. "I'm not just a screen anymore," she said. "I'm now the whole normal life, the editor, the teacher, the soccer player who is not so good. You get all of that, and none of the other part." "That is all I ever wanted," I said. I fell for the woman with the red pen. I never wanted Vesper. She laughed then, truly and warmly, not pretending. Then she kissed me, and I kissed her back. Duke pushed his gray face between our knees to check what was taking so long. The 3 of us went inside into the busy, bright house that used to feel empty. The door closed with a calm kind of quiet, the kind that has people inside it. Healing is never about pretending the past didn't hurt, but about finding the courage to finally cross the room, tear down the walls we hide behind, and choose to truly live in the light. Whose journey resonated with you the most? Did you find yourself understanding Seth's quiet struggle to let go? Or were you moved by the gentle grace of Mia and the fierce honesty of Emma? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch and experience this journey with us today. If this story touched your heart, please consider subscribing to Infidelity Director for more heartfelt, moving stories about love, redemption, and the quiet truths that bring us home.